Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and I'm joined by regular co-host, one Mr.
Andy Conduit. And hello, Ben, and indeed everybody. It's just the two of us today. We can make it if we try.
We can make it if we try. As previously advertised, we were going to be joined by Janine Pipe this week. She's unavailable, however, but we will get her back on the show at some point soon. That is not supposed to sound like a threat. Like we will get her back on the show
With a certain set of skills.
Exactly. It feels kind of wrong talking about a werewolf movie without our resident werewolf expert to join us. But if we cover this film incorrectly, this film's a bit of a unique one anyway, isn't it? I think you don't just have to be a werewolf expert to talk about this film. You have to be an expert on many things.
Orgies. Yeah, I'm throwing out there, Ben. I think this is a film that deserves a critical reappraisal. I think it's time.
What's really weird about covering this film is that I've watched it not that long ago. It feels like not that long ago. It was last September, and I'm pretty sure you did your Howling rewatch as well, didn't you?
I watched all of them for the first time after the first one. I'd not seen anything beyond number one.
Yeah.
This one, I think as soon as I watched it, I messaged you and said, we're going to have to do an episode on this.
How many are there again? 7?
7, 6, 7.
6, 7. Yeah. And there you go. You said it and you've spoken it into existence.
A rare franchise continuation. We've got some big franchises. There's a few that we've done all, apart from Aliens and Predators, that we've done most of.
Yeah.
We've got some franchises to check off. So we're making another baby step along the Howling track.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's even some of the big heavy hitters we've never sort of done the sequels of. So, but then again, it's pretty much infinite. This podcast will go on forever if we carry on at this rate. Yeah, I just coughed at the mere thought of the podcast going on forever. Us at 80 years old going, plug the little Bluetooth chip into my head so I can record my weekly podcast, and they'll go.
Can you imagine if it does continue that long? Will there have to come a point then where if podcasts are still a thing, we are still a thing, anyone ever still listens to this, we have to eventually choose successors? We've died.
That might be a possibility. I reckon so. How would that work? How would the process of choosing a successor work?
I guess in the same way that one would choose an heir, like you'd
a pope.
Yeah, there'll have to be a council of elders. They'll put some white smoke for the pope, so you have to have like the horror hangout colours, like the green and pink.
Green and pink smoke.
Get the cardinals in. Put like a horror hangout green smoke until they've chosen, then a pink when they've made the choice.
Get the cardinals in. Previous guests.
Horror cardinals. Yeah.
Oh, sounds exciting. I want to be around for it. Obviously, I won't be. I'll be dead. Unless someone has to kill you in order to take over from you as well.
Take the challenge from you. That's why the monarchy should work. Not putting any suggestions in their heads. I do not want this podcast to come up in court.
Exactly, yeah. Horror news? We got anything to I'm asking you. I don't know. I'm asking you, Andy. Well, we've got one big sort of announcement / thing to discuss at the moment. It is Horror Hangout podcast is officially an affiliate of the Kindertrauma documentary Kickstarter. So that is a documentary that is now live on Kickstarter. The project's been live for a couple of days now. I think it goes on for like another month, or just under a month, I should say. And Kindertrauma, We Know What Scared You, is a feature-length peer into the void of juvenile anxieties across form and format, providing an insightful retrospective on the things that terrified us as children, a log from observations from creatives who torment the bad dreams of the current generation through art. So there's loads and loads of interesting guests with this documentary involved, including Sandy King Carpenter, Brian Yuzna, American McGee, fantastic name. So yeah, this is live now. You can back the Kickstarter. We'll obviously put it in the show notes with the link, because if you follow our affiliate link, you can just get access to that, and
they'll know we sent you. Helps out the show.
Exactly, yeah. On behalf of the show, they go Horror Hangout. There we go. So even if you want to like support it for like $1. You can do that just to thank you for supporting to get it off the ground. But there are loads and loads of other reward tiers, including digital copies, physical copies, posters, other artworks and bundles. And the artwork looks fantastic. Again, we'll link to everything in the show notes. But it's
I
like
think the very top tier of it, if you're a particularly fancy person, you're doing ever so well for yourself and you want to get like a producer credit that, isn't just a name in the credits, but it is actually an IMDb credit as well, you can go for that type of thing if you are so inclined.
an
I was feeling a little
executive.
flusher, Ben. I might be tempted.
Yeah, you can be an executive producer or a producer with some of the highest tiers. The very highest tier is basically you just become the king of the film, director of the movie. You just take over. You just go, listen, right?
Your face is in the corner of the whole thing. That's not true. But
Yeah, you're doing a commentary over the whole thing, and there's nothing they can do about it, because you've backed the documentary. So yeah,
but there are some great people involved with it. Janine Piper, I guess one of the things she's very busy with is working towards this project amongst a couple of other things as well, right? So
incredibly busy.
lots of
Yeah,
other people we know, some great creators, like I feel Josh Rubin's involved as well, right? I've seen some clips from
yeah,
him in the
he
build up to
sure
it as
is.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, this yeah
Um,
looks great, and I think if you've got any sort of interest, you know me, I love a horror documentary, so I've backed it, Andy's backed it, so follow our lead and and get
yeah,
involved.
get this made. Oh, I'll tell you what, then, as we're talking about it, I know it's well documented your fear of quicksand, but what was your kinder trauma? What was keeping you up at night?
It's a good question, because it was mainly like I was pretty scared of horror movies that I shouldn't have seen when I was really young, and that's a really cliched sort of thing, isn't it? I think, as I mentioned, the unnamable. I
The
saw
unnameable,
when
of
I
course.
saw a clip of when I was really young, and yeah, that kept me up. Event Horizon saw when I was like 10 or 11, and that scared the bejesus out of me. Other than that, like. Other than that, I can't think of like really like basic kind of silly things. I used to be a bit freaked out by the alien on the front of Space Raiders crisps. Something
The
put me
sort of
off
space
about it.
piratey guy.
Yeah. Scary, right? You know what I mean, don't you?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. It's a little bit scary. And I think any form of like mascot for something used to freak me out a little bit. Like,
Never liked a mascot. We opened a UCI cinema near me, and there were people dressed as film strips. Don't like them. Can't see their eyes. I
oh,
know
like
there's a
that sort of
person in
mascot.
there. No, no, no.
I kind of meant like an animated slash cartoon mascot for like a cereal or something. But I also feel like that about mascots in general. Like
You don't
when
want an
you
Eeyore coming up behind you. You'll scream.
no, when you go to a football match and there's just like some dead-eyed, like weird. I tell you what, this scared me. There was the weirdest mascot at a football match ever was for Lincoln City. I think it's Lincoln City, and it's called the
String of
Poacher.
sausages.
It's no, it's not as bad as that. There was a boiler one once for West Ham, I think. This one, it was like it's called the Poacher Imp, and it's like a weird little. It's supposed to be like a little imp, like a weird little
Yeah.
thing. Ever so creepy, cold, dead eyes, nothing behind it. You don't know who's in there. Do you know what I mean? That's the scary thing. Who could it be? Could be anyone.
Could be anyone. Gary Glitter, Michael Flatley. Only one of those is a paedophile. The other one's just a normal man.
The other one's just got
Could
very
be anyone
fast
in
feet.
there.
Yeah, I reckon you recognize it if it was Michael Flatley. You'd look at the feet and you go, I could barely see him. It's like a
His arms
sonic
are ever so
blur.
still though.
His arms are completely still. So yeah, I guess like stuff like that. I don't know if it was ever like a irrational fear. Just used to be a bit put off. I mean, given some thought, I could probably remember some stuff. How about you?
uh, Kinder trauma's been a couple for you. One, I think we've already talked about it, so I need to touch on it briefly. Actual reconstructions on Crime Watch that I would
Oh
always
yeah.
watch despite it terrifying me. I had a point
Mm.
as a child where I would actively look, I'd watch the real videoed reconstruction of terrible violent crime, but then would look away from the photo fit picture because I found them too scary.
I mean, photo fit
Um,
pictures are pretty scary, aren't they?
yeah, imagine if people looked like those. Ugh,
Yeah.
horrible. My uncle Chris, it was a horror filmmaker now. We should get him on for a chat sometime.
Oh yeah, Uncle Chris.
He's much younger than he's younger than my dad. Like my dad is the oldest, he is the youngest. So when we were kids, he was in his like early 20s. Like he
Okay.
hadn't moved out of his parents' house yet, and he had like a poster of Freddy Krueger on his wall. So I'd go around and visit my grandparents, and then there'd be a horrible poster of Freddy
Oh
Krueger up
no.
there. It wouldn't go in that room, so it was very scary.
Yeah.
And then, and I think maybe this is an opportunity for the documentary makers. Listen in, guys. I think particularly of people from the UK and of around our age, just government safety videos about getting your hands blown off with
Yeah.
fireworks, or flying a kite into the pylons, or
Falling
going
into
to
the
a farm
swamp.
ever. Yeah,
Yeah.
falling into the grain pit of the swamp and being
The
like
grain
slurped
pit
into
of the swamp.
oblivion. Yeah, the swampy grain pit of the farm, or a gate
Yeah, yeah,
dropping on
that
you, or accidentally drinking acid. All
things that
these
like
things.
I guess like Watership Down and Animals of Farthing Wood. There were quite some scary moments in that, like
Yeah,
almost animal violence in a cartoon. And then also like fantasy movies from the 80s that weren't necessarily horror, but like used to I see Return to Oz as being discussed in this
yeah,
documentary,
horrible,
which
horrible
which
whalers.
it wasn't always the Wheelers that got me. It was old the what's her name who just to
Mom
change her
being on
head.
lots of faces.
Mom being all her heads, and when all the heads like scream after Dorothy, that was scary. Yeah, Labyrinth. All the goblins in that were pretty freaky. Any sort of Jim Henson puppet, I feel like, had a certain quality to it that scared the crap out of me.
Didn't like it in Labyrinth when I know the implications were that actually it was it was a spiked peach that had that horrible worm in it that would send a doolally and make her forget about
Yeah,
a kid brother. But I found it deeply unpleasant that you might bite into a peach and there'd be a worm in it. I haven't eaten a
yeah.
peach since.
And talking of worms, even that little worm on the wall with his little scarf on used to scare me.
Horrible.
Horrible little voice. And the old lady at the end who's like in the sort of got all the stuff on her back. She's like living in the living in the you know what I
Or
mean?
the
And you
like
sort
the
of end up and
peddler. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, it's all that sort of stuff. It could go on forever, and I would, which is why I'm probably going to enjoy watching this movie. But yeah, I think distinctively British things as well, which I mean, I don't know if they're going to cover anything like that. But yeah, there's a hell of a lot of super creepy stuff, especially like growing up in the 80s. What a weird time to sort of be alive and
Tell
surrounded
you
by.
tell you what, Ben, I won't waver in my support for the documentary if they don't take up on this. But after that great audition and that bit of a talking head you've just given there, I think you should be on it.
Yeah, get me on
Get,
it for God's
get you on.
sake.
I mean, if you're listening, guys, we won't charge a fee. We'll just turn up. You haven't got to change the target or anything.
No, don't worry. I don't want to be an executive producer. Just if you give me a couple of minutes of airtime, I will talk about Lincoln City's poacher imp mascot and the
Or
and the
falling
tr-
into the swamp at the farm.
and fall into the swamp at the. I'm gonna have to show you the poacher imp because it is terrifying. Because I remember being like at a football game going, oh, it's kind of like the only way to describe it's got a big red face and
Mhm.
like a white beard and white eyebrows. And I just remember
Okay.
it was coming along like where we were sat, and it was like waving at everyone. And for some reason, now this might not be true, but when it got to me, it just stared at me, stared straight down at me, like
Oh no.
like it wanted to kill me.
Come at you
Um,
with like the voice of Zeus, but only you could hear it in your mind. I
yeah,
was
and I
once saw Rupert the Bear at a thing
disguises
live. This horrible gorilla came out. It wasn't horrible. It was just a mischievous gorilla. Came out, ruffled my
mischievous.
hair, and stole my banana out of my lunchbox.
Jesus, stole your banana as well.
Yeah, I mean, all a bit of fun, but that is theft.
That is theft, but also like I bet as soon as it saw that banana, right, this is right on brand for me.
Yeah. I
I'm
bet he
having
came
that.
backstage that night, the man in the gorilla suit, and said, fucking, I've crushed that.
Oh, a man in a
I've
gorilla
just,
suit. I was
yeah, it
thinking it was a
wasn't a
real
real
gorilla.
gorilla, sorry.
I'm joking. Ruffled
Should
your
clarify, not a gorilla.
it ruffled your hair. We
It
could have had
ruffled my hair.
could
I
have
had a
had a
little cry
Harambe
about it. It's
situation.
really upset.
Did you have a cry? Oh, bless
Yeah, I
you.
was dead upset. I was like three. A big gorilla. I
Oh,
didn't know
three
it's
years
not a real
old.
gorilla. Little kid.
Yeah, freaky, isn't it?
The
Um,
fact I still remember it to this day probably clarifies it as Kindertrauma. It's one of my earliest memories with Mrs. Radford. Previous listeners will
oh
know who
yeah.
that is. Fucking hell.
I remember. Sorry to keep mentioning the Lincoln City poacher imp. I remember like going when Lincoln City came to. So it was when I used to go and watch Bristol City. Um, Lincoln City came back to like Bristol City the year after. I remember genuinely thinking, "Oh, I don't want to see
I
that
can't
poacher
watch
imp again."
them. The
But
poacher will
now
be there.
I've just Googled him. Well, there's one picture where he's got a GoPro on his chest. They've obviously given him a body cam because he's committing he's been committing offences.
I wear a body cam for my protection and yours.
My protection on yours, exactly. But yeah, we hopefully also we will be getting the director of the Kindertrauma documentary in for an interview soon. So we'll find out. If this sounds up your street, find out more on the podcast very soon. Horror news. On top of that, I've got a story here. Blumhouse Games. Andy, how
Why?
does this make you feel? They get involved, don't they? Um, Blumhouse is launching a new subsidiary to produce and publish video games. The company has appointed somebody as like a president, somebody as a CFO, partner with independent game creators to bring their creative vision to life via original horror-themed games for console, PC, and mobile audiences in the spirit of its film business. It will target indie budget games below 10 million to enable innovation and push creative boundaries. Yeah, this could be interesting. I suppose even just attaching the name Blumhouse to something like that is going to give it more of an audience. Well,
Yeah, they're knocking these things up, aren't they? Like, it's not so much in the world of games or films. Myself, I get a bugbear with how how far the term indie will stretch with things. Like when I hear um
yeah,
indie and then it's followed up with budget of 10 million or less, I was like, if you've got a budget of 10 million, I'm not sure how much of an indie you are anymore.
yeah,
You're not EA with a budget of that size, but in the
yeah,
same way as like, would I call like an Image Comics or a Dark Horse Comics indie? They're not Marvel or
yeah.
DC, but they are still large corporations that
Substantial.
have,
Yeah.
yeah. When I think of indie and like think of some of these things that have come about, like not horror, I don't have a horror example off the top of the dome, but Stardew Valley made by one guy. That is an indie game.
Oh
I
right, it
don't
was
know,
made
like,
by one guy. Was it that one?
yeah, or very few people. I know more
Oh
horror
okay.
tomes. What's the Undertale? Undertale's one guy.
Oh okay. Wow.
Um, yeah,
Very
like
impressive.
that. I think some of the things which become absolutely huge things do have tiny, tiny teams behind them, and they don't have
Mm.
millions of dollars. I would always encourage more horror media stuff, but I think if
Yeah.
you're really leaning into indie as your catchword, look for someone who's got a tiny idea and no money.
Yeah.
Um, I think when you've got a budget of 10 million, I'd say more than 1 million, then you've probably got a fairly good shot at these things. If you've got a compelling idea, it's sometimes about talent, not money.
Mm.
But I'll
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
it.
Definitely.
I'd love to see what they put out.
Yeah. It's interesting. It sounds like a little bit different to. I don't know. Initially, I was like, "Oh, does that mean it's like Netflix games?" But I think Netflix is just providing a platform rather than like actually
Mhm.
um being associated in any other way. More news: a movie called The Pope's Exorcist has got a trailer. The first footage from it is coming in April. The footage was revealed just today, and it's a movie starring Russell Crowe.
Let's say, is it
Yeah,
Rusty? It is, isn't
it's
it? Yes.
it's all Rusty Crowe. Um, so yeah, the Pope's Exorcist is based on real life exorcist Father Gabriel Amorth, the legendary Italian priest who performed over 100,000 exorcisms for the Vatican. Now, come on, right?
A
I can,
hundred
I,
thousand. Hang on, let me do some
I,
maths here.
I could get on board with if you've gone, oh, I've done 1,000 exorcisms, maybe. But it feels like what they're doing there is they're just saying, no matter what someone's ailment or problem is, they're going, you're possessed. And I feel like that is where religion takes things too far. 100,000 exorcisms. If he did like 10, what are the chances of a real life Italian priest coming across 100,000 people who are possessed? That's
Well, I'll
like,
tell you what, Ben, he must do them pretty rapidly. I've just done the maths here.
God,
I haven't accounted in for leap years yet. I can put a few more
okay.
days in this if you like,
What
but
year do you reckon he began?
what year did he begin? I don't know. It feels like it's like a 1920.
Oh, 90. Oh, sorry. I meant like what year in his life do you think he began?
Oh, I think you've got to be like. I don't think it's your first job out of school, like a paper round or anything like that. It's probably It's
Yeah.
probably 25, 30 if he's a prodigy in that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
Or he's just
apparently
like,
then
I'm sick of coming across people who are possessed every 5 minutes of my life.
I
I
reckon
need to start.
it'd have to be, because if he did, based on 100,000, Ben,
Yeah.
if he did one a day, just one exorcism, and I think from The Exorcist and films like it, I think one would probably be a limit for a day. You might want a day off.
Yeah,
Didn't have
you'd be
any days
absolutely
off. In fact, if he just took the leap year,
throw
February
yourself
the
out the window.
29th off,
Yeah.
that'd still take him 273.9 years to do that many.
Oh, Jesus. So that we're talking like a queue. There's got to be a queue formed, right?
Either that, or do you reckon he's talking about the
Has he done
number,
like
the
a
number?
whole a whole football
Yeah,
stadium worth of
yeah,
people?
the number of people with spirit. So he filled a stadium, and he only says the words once, but he does do, capacity crowd, 10,000 exorcisms on that day.
Yeah.
All that is like, you see those videos of evangelical churches, and they put like Street Fighter sound effects over them. Like it's like
Yeah.
that, where he's running through clouds of people, like like knocking the demons out of them left and right.
Yeah. That's impressive. I mean, that's got to be in terms of the most exorcisms ever done. That's got to be it, right? There's got to be anyone else in history who's got more than that, surely.
Over 100,000. I know it's a matter of faith, Ben. It's the church thing, but I'm just not sure mathematically.
No, not possible, is it? Anyway, regardless of that, we're going to get a film, and the film is just going to be Russell Crowe, speed running exorcisms,
Yeah,
speed running exorcisms. Um, and there's also another movie that's been announced called Sting, which is spider horror film. Andy, the
I've heard
first look
about
at
this.
arachnophobia horror movie featuring practical spider effects, which is interesting.
Little robot
Um,
spiders.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Robots, is that what it would be? I suppose it would.
Little Muppet
Um,
spiders.
one, one cold, stormy night in New York City, a mysterious object falls from the sky and smashes through the window of a rundown apartment building. It's an egg, and from this egg emerges a strange little spider. Alien egg? Alien spider?
Well, otherwise it'd be an alien film, not a spider film. So
Yeah, that's
better
true.
be. Earthbound
How's it?
must have just been blown from the jungle or
That's
where
weird, isn't it?
spiders live.
So it's discovered by Charlotte's Web,
Charlotte's Web. Yeah.
a rebellious 12-year-old girl obsessed with comic books, Spider-Man. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, just it looks like it's sort of like a family film, but I guess like Arachnophobia was like that, really, wasn't it? It was like a sort of family movie, but yeah, I guess maybe they'll go full horror with this. Well, Arachnophobia was full horror, but it was like
Yeah.
I think we
I
discussed this before. Remember the trailer for Arachnophobia? It was like billed as being almost like a family comedy.
And then
If
before you know
you've
it, a
got
spider comes out of
arachnophobia,
someone's nose, like when they're watching Wheel of Fortune.
Jesus,
We should do it. Well, I think especially with that release coming up, we maybe have to we'll have to do an arachnophobia episode.
Yeah, that sounds good. This sounds cool though. I think I swear there was like a sort of spider horror film that came out not so long ago, but I don't think it got much traction. So there's that. Oh, that's it. That's it for horror news. Sorry, I was about to go, and I've also got this, but no, that's it. Unless there's anything else that you've
No, the
seen
only
this
minor
week.
thing I've seen is that we haven't seen it yet. It will be premiering in the UK at Fright Fest Glasgow next month. But Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. You know what? It's made good bank, right? Like obviously not a huge budget film. It's already based on a limited US release, made huge profits on its return, and then I think the directors have come out and said the sequel will have a larger budget, and then they've also thrown out some other fantasy gets that they would like to have. I think they had one of them that would love to do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Sorry, guys, still very much an active IP. I don't think you're going to get that one. But
Stay the hell away from them, for
yeah,
God's
I,
sake.
I, I was talking to someone about it the other day, saying that like I know that the opinion of this has been mixed. We haven't seen it yet, so we can't speak to the quality or lack thereof. But I
Yeah,
know that some people have an argument with what they think about taking something the opposite of Kindertrauma, creating one later, taking
yeah.
something that people loved as a kid and then turning it into like a gory horror thing.
Mm.
And my take on it is, again, haven't seen Blood and Honey yet, can't say either way.
Yeah.
anything about it. I've not even fully read reviews because I do intend to see what it's about.
Hmm.
But I think it is entirely possible to take something that is one thing and do a horror version of it and tell a horror story. But
Yeah.
my opinion is it just has to be slightly more nuanced than, oh no, SpongeBob, he's stabbed your mom in the eyes, hasn't he? Like,
Yeah.
weep for your childhood because its innocence has been destroyed. Like, I think it has to be more so than that. And you know what? For its successes or otherwise, I was interested in how they approached the banana splits
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
thing.
You've
Very,
you have mentioned that before, haven't
yeah,
you? Yeah.
it's very Five Nights at Freddy's, and banana splits is. Wouldn't think it's a look at me, Ben, but before my time, I only knew it from reruns on The Big Breakfast. Um, like it was, yeah, I think it's possible to do, but I think you have to be a little bit more deliberate than just take thing, put a murderer in it, but with the aesthetic of the other thing. I think you have
Yeah.
to.
That's what I feel like. Like unless this killer has got a big round belly and just a red t-shirt and no bottoms on, I'm not interested. And scooping honey out of a honey pot like a hungry bear, like a hungry
Oh, I
bear.
mean, like think about that, making it a horror thing. Like make Winnie the Pooh still nice, but he comes into your house, eats all the honey, you get stuck in your door. Then it's like a trapped, it's
Yeah.
like a The Fall or a Buried where you're stuck in the house. How do
I
you get out?
reckon
There's a Winnie the
let,
Pooh in the door.
let's make a Cujo with Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh gets bitten by a bat, goes rabid.
That
Winnie the
little
Pooh coming
gopher
at you.
gets the rabies and bites
Yeah.
him.
They all get the rabies, all of them. Okay.
Eeyore, like with a donkey's powerful legs, kick you hard enough in the chest to stop your heart.
You won't have enough energy. He's always
Oh, if he
lethargic.
just snaps though, he's just had enough of it.
Yeah, he's had a gutsful. He's depressed, isn't he? Um, that is that's it for horror news. I guess we should move on to what we've been watching.
What
Has this been a
have you been
busy?
watching?
Has this been a busy week for you?
You know what, Ben? It's not been too bad. Let me tell you about what I've been watching. In a couple of senses, one of them, I'll just group everything together. I finished, Ben, my Tremors tour.
Mother of God, that was quick. How
So
many
I've
are
done
there? Six.
one, two, three, four, five, seven.
4, 5, 7. Yeah,
Yep.
that's how it works.
They stopped numbering them
Wow.
after five. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it like Stu said last week. Actually, 1 to 4, like the first few sequels, 2 to 4, still have a lot of delight and wonder about them. Number 4 in particular, I
Yeah.
really quite liked. It's the one that's in the past where it's like in the Wild West days where like a relative of Burt Gummer
Oh yeah,
comes
yeah,
along.
yeah.
That it's a lot of fun. It's very sweet and it plays nicely into the characters
Mm-hmm.
versus the different versions of them. There's like a family that has started the shop. There's like other like ranchers and everything that are there, and
Yeah.
it's really quite fun. After Tremors 4, it
Awesome.
does get more of a, I think like Stu said, it doesn't have quite the same sense of innocence about it. It's still quite comedic. We have from Tremors 5, Jamie Kennedy of Son of the Mask fame
Mm-hmm.
joins as Bert's estranged son, and they go to South
Okay.
Africa and then to the Antarctic.
Are they
But
bloody tremors following me? Because
yeah, they're all over.
wherever
They're
I
all
go.
they're all over the shop. And then Shrieker Island was the most recent one from
Oh yeah.
2020. If you don't want spoilers for Shrieker's Island, do skip ahead of 30 seconds now. Are you okay with spoilers for Shrieker's Island, Ben?
Yeah, give them to me.
Bert says goodbye in that one. He dies at the end.
Oh no! But does he die? Is he half man, half
Oh,
tremor?
he looked pretty dead. He was exploded. Um,
Okay.
but and they kind of maybe that's a bit of a send off for the character. There's
Yeah.
nothing overtly wrong with them. Completely watchable, disposable action films, but they just don't have the character of the early ones anymore.
Mm.
But it's a nice run through the. It's a nice run. It was a nice run through the series. If you don't have lots and lots of time, I would say stop at 4, perhaps.
Stop at 4. Okay,
But
very
yeah,
nice.
there's some good, enjoyable things to be had. Um, Others aside, I'm going to come back to that one. I had some little watches. I finished season 2 of Chucky. It's great,
Oh
really
yeah, of
good.
course.
I
Yeah, you
think
did say that, didn't you?
I think some of my favorite horror TV stuff. Really imaginative, good slasher stuff. It's funny. I think the characters are all really good. Just brilliant stuff. Really good horror TV. Cannot
Mm,
recommend it enough.
awesome.
I'm up to date on The Last of Us. Have you been watching that?
I'm one behind, I believe. So I've been watching it, enjoying it. I think the whatever the latest episode that I saw was, which is quite an emotional,
Yeah.
heightened emotional one. I'm pretty sure I know where the next one's going to go in terms of how it correlates to the game. Uh, yeah,
Are we
really
going to
enjoying
talk
that
about that when
too.
it's out? We're just going to keep saying we're watching it, and then we'll talk about it all
Yeah,
when we're done.
so I think we're gonna do I'd like to do a bonus episode on that. I know I've mentioned it a couple of times. When it's all out and it's all done, and we've seen everything, let's do a bonus
Then we'll do
episode.
it. Then I watched a short film that some short filmmakers got in touch with me about called
Oh,
Kiddo.
nice.
It's available on YouTube. It's 15 minutes of your time. Um,
Okay.
I don't want to spoil it. It's a short video. Um, Talks about the farming industry and the meat industry in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Presented with a short horror story. I will send you the link, Ben. You can enjoy it for yourself
Very
and post it
nice.
in the show notes. Good British production,
Yeah. Let's do it.
some good practical effects in there. It's worth a little watch for a few minutes of your time.
Lovely.
Then I read, tell you what,
Oh,
little
there we go.
sidestep here. I read a new comic, but I don't have the full team in front of me, I'm afraid. But it's by Scottish comic writer John Lees. It's called
Ah,
The
okay.
Nasty. That's coming out from Vault Comics very soon. Um, they sent me the first issue of that as a preview. It's already available for pre-order at your local comic book store, and it will be out in shops in April, I think. Um,
Sweet.
it's a group of friends that all meet at a video shop to watch their favorite horror movies, keeping a video store alive in a rapidly modernizing world. They opt to do a movie club, and they get their hands on the ultimate video nasty. Unfortunately, the fit tape is destroyed before they can watch it. But knowing that no one's really seen the movie, they think maybe we could recreate it ourselves.
Recreate it. Be Kind Rewind style.
Yeah. And there is a character in it. One of the
What's it
characters has
called?
an imaginary friend. It's called the Nasty.
As a what
Um,
friend?
oh, he's got an imaginary friend who's a big Jason Voorhees.
Oh Jesus! We said
Uh,
an imaginary friend. Did you?
Imaginary
You said...
friend. No, just obviously doing some accent work. We talked about someone. Yeah. Yeah. It's I really enjoyed I really enjoyed the setup of the first issue. What I've told you is only what's in the synopsis. But I think I'm going to enjoy
Nice.
this series. I'm going to try and get on to some of the folks behind it, see if I can't get them to come and talk about it when it comes out with us.
Yeah, that'd be
Maybe
good.
if I can twist their arms and get their interest enough with a Jason Voorhees like character, maybe it's time, Ben, that we actually get
Oh,
Jason
we
himself on the
actually.
podcast, because we've only done Friday the 13th one, so we've never done an episode with actual Jason in it, apart from the bit at the very end.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. I suppose we should.
And
I
then,
suppose we should. Horror credentials out the window otherwise.
yeah, the last thing I'm going to say to you, Ben, I finally, only one of the two, not got around to the other acclaimed film that doesn't have a proper UK release yet, but did eventually manage to get to rent a copy of Infinity Pool to watch.
Good, you're just keeping me on the edge of my seat there.
It's like the
I've seen
bloody
Infi-
nasty. Getting a
I've seen
bloody
Infinite.
hard to reach film.
I've seen Infinity Pool as well.
Should we talk about that quickly? What did you
So I
think,
guess
roughly?
guess we could talk about it quickly. Are you a fan of Brandon Cronenberg's other movie, Possessor?
I liked Possessor a lot.
Yeah, I really, really liked Possessor, and I think if you liked Possessor, there's a lot to like in this film as well. There's some body horror stuff that kind of like, well, maybe the body horror stuff isn't like as front and center as Possessor,
Mm-hmm.
but it does, you do still get it. I think Mia Goth is. What's his flavor? Alexander Skarsgård is great as well. He's solid, but Mia Goth is, Jesus
She's
Christ,
on
she is just,
another level in
she's
in this
on
film.
another level. Yeah, like sort of unassuming to start with, and then just like batshit intense. I don't even want to say batshit crazy. I feel like calling her batshit crazy is a bit unfair.
She's
Batshit
so
intense.
so good on it when she's eating a chicken and drinking a wine on the bonnet of that car. What a time.
Exactly. Iconic.
And a new, for me personally, a new great metaphor to describe something which is real nice but is over far too soon. Like going on a roller coaster, or when you have a really good dinner and you just
Mm.
pop it up real quick and it's gone. You could describe that as non-plot spoilers for Infinity Pool coming up. Everyone, do skip forward 30 seconds. Um, Now, calling things a Mia Goth hand job are the way to go.
I wonder where you're going to go with that then.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mia Goth hand job, one from behind as well, which would an unexpected one from behind as well. I mean, maybe
Hey, he
she's
should have been
just
really careful. He was going for a wee at the time. Could have got
could have got
horrible. Could have got
could
real
have been
messy.
could have gone messy. She could have gone bloody hell. That's a lot, and you could have asked, "Hey, it's just urine." Um, it's gone everywhere. You fool. Um,
We're out on a
it can't
picnic, nowhere to wash our hands. I ain't got
again.
enough baby wipes for this.
It does stray into the territory of, and this isn't like spoilers, I guess, but like rich people doing bad things just because they're rich. Like a wealth of, I guess, things like, does that happen in The Purge? But that sort of vibe, without spoiling it. But it sort of approaches a lot of things about identity quite interestingly as well, and also like sexual identity too. But yeah, I think overall, I'm definitely a fan. I definitely enjoyed it, and it's kind of got to that point, especially after X and Pearl, and now Infinity Pool, where I'm just like, I want to watch everything Mia Goth's ever been in. And now I'm like looking back and going, I've seen a lot of what Mia Goth's been in, but I guess it's just I've never noticed her as much as I have after these few roles. I think she was great in Suspiria. She's good in High Life, the movie of Robert Pattinson, sort of sci-fi, weird sci-fi. A Cure for Wellness, she's like an ever-present figure, isn't she? But I guess she isn't like one of the main leads. Well, I guess she kind of is. She's in Nymphomaniac as well, Lars von Trier,
Yeah.
however you say his name. She's in that. So yeah, the fact it's kind of made me want to go back and revisit these films that I already like, to just remember what Mia Goth's performances are like in it, and maybe just see that journey that she's taken from being sort of an actor appearing in these films, to suddenly being this huge worldwide star whose performances, I mean, that is a real accent in Infinity Pool as well, right? Because she is English.
She's yeah. Can't say that nowadays though, Ben. Put you in prison. But yeah, she's
What, for just saying she's English? Yeah.
just for saying
These
English. Yeah.
days.
Yeah, these. Yes, she is English. Um, but she's brilliant in it. Yeah, she's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
can't
would,
overstate that performance. It's really,
like,
really good. I think we'll give it some
again,
time to cool, and maybe we'll do an episode on that or Possessor, because I think Brandon Cronenberg is a great filmmaker.
yeah, definitely. And again, minor spoilers, but I would crawl on my hands and knees in front of a car while Mia Goth sat on the bonnet eating chicken and drinking wine. All she got to do is say the word, and I'll be there.
Do you reckon you'd be tempted to go, I'll give a bit?
Gives a bit. What you got there? Is it just a bucket? This island doesn't strike me as the kind of island that's got like a KFC just like laying about.
You got any boneless bites with that? Oh,
Sorry, no. Yeah, there's a real high crime rate in this town. You got to definitely stay in the resort. There's a KFC over there. That's absolutely fine. Don't worry about it. Get yourself in there. Yeah. So obviously, Infinity Pool was one. I've still not had a chance to watch The Outwaters, which I think is on Screenbox now. So I
it's
need to
on
try and find.
screen. It's on Screenbox.
Yeah.
I did spend an awfully long time with the VPN on, so I appeared in the US, going, will it stop me from just signing up to Screenbox
And it
here?
does.
I didn't try.
Oh, right. I think it
Like,
does, because I tried to sign up to Screenbox to watch that Pennywise Story of It thing, and I couldn't get in even with a VPN, so I don't know what I was doing wrong.
It let
Bit
me
frustrating.
do that bit, but I think sometimes with billing it wants you to have a US billing address.
Mm.
But if they don't get it sorted soon, Ben, I'm just gonna have to get a friend in the US to pay for a month for me and send them the money. These are
Send
the
them the
way.
money.
This is the admin you put us through, filmmakers, while film
Yeah,
distributors. When you
it's
don't pull your
difficult, isn't
finger
it?
out.
Okay, things I've watched this week. I won't go into huge detail of everything. I started watching 101 scariest movie moments on Shudder, which I know you've seen, Andy. I think I've seen about
Ever so
three
good.
episodes now. Ever so good. Kind of reminds you of classic moments as well. What I like is when a film pops up and they go, "This is the next film we're talking about," trying to name what the moment's going to be. That's a fun
Yeah,
game. And when it chooses the moment that you don't, you go, "Nah, my moment's scarier."
yeah,
Um, it seems to, so it's got a lot of love for classic films. Some other stuff that probably doesn't get enough love. I like the fact they talk about the Dawn of the Dead remake in this one, which is
yeah.
which is good, because a lot of people go, Zack Snyder, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about the original. But I'm like, well, yeah, but this remake has genuinely got a lot of stuff that's scary. So I'm impressed by that, and also stuff that like I've never seen before, because you do kind of go through these things thinking I'm gonna have seen all of these, but yeah, a couple of films that I've not seen before. That one you mentioned earlier called Terrified, the Argentinian
Yeah.
movie, and the scary moment in that seems bloody scary. So I want to go and check it out. Talking of things that scare me, I also played the Resident Evil Village DLC Shadows of Rose, which I've kind of had downloaded and ready to go for a while now, but I finally got around to it. I think it's not essential if you've played the main game, Resident Evil Village. It's kind of just like a little add-on which takes place years later when Rose is grown up, because she's just a baby in Resident Evil Village. And I guess it doesn't all necessarily take place in reality. I think a lot of it's in some sort of weird plane of consciousness, but there is
A weird
officially,
fungus matrix that she goes into.
yeah. Have you played it?
Yeah, I've got two. I don't know how much I've got left. I assume not very much. I've
It's
got
not
to the
that
bit
long.
with all the big dollies.
Yeah, you haven't got long to go at all. Um, but so does that? So officially, I would say I didn't play a DLC of a Resident Evil game expecting to experience one of the scariest moments of in Resident Evil history, which is, I don't know if have you got to this yet? I don't feel like I want to spoil it, but
Go on, it doesn't
it,
matter.
creepy mannequins that only
Oh yeah, I've
move
done that
when
bit.
you
Yeah,
when
the
you're looking
dollies.
away from them.
That's the dollies bit. It was so stressful, wasn't
Jesus
it?
Christ. It was horrific. So obviously it's very reminiscent of that Doctor Who episode with the statues. Can't remember what the episode's called.
Weeping
But
Angels.
Weeping Angels, that's it.
The episode's
Very
called Blink, I think.
okay. But very reminiscent of that. And it just doesn't feel right because you're walking around. Like I want to look in every corner of the room to try and find little items and stuff. And I've got to like walk around by staring at these dolls. And it got me a couple of times where like there were two entrances to a room and I was looking at one entrance and I could hear the creaky things and I'm like, okay, the thing will appear in a minute and I'll be able to stop it by looking at it. And it came from like this side and got me, scared the crap out of me.
Imagine my horror, Ben. Quite often when I'm playing a game, unless it's absolutely essential that I have the music on or the sound, because it's like a really story-driven one, and the Resident Evil DLC with subtitles on, I was like, nah, I don't need it. I had the sound off. I was listening to a podcast. I only had my eyes
Oh my god.
to do it.
In a
Um,
way, that's like, so they got horrible glowing eyes as well, haven't they? I mean,
yeah,
this is the thing. It did remind me of the regenerators in a way, where when the regenerators turn up in Resident Evil 4, it's a completely new sort of adversary where you can't just go in all guns blazing because you'll waste all your ammo essentially. And the way it kind of like just slowly walks towards you, like with the horrible noise it makes as well, and you kind of do feel genuinely helpless. um I kind of felt a little, I was getting those vibes in this, and I really did enjoy that. The fact that it takes you back to those classic moments of the franchise and kind of
it's
in a
kind of
completely
like a
different setting.
mini. It's kind of like a mini bit. It's like a mini version of the old game of a village, right? It's like a little
Yeah.
remix of it because effectively there's the first
Oh,
section where there is enemies that you're having to largely run from in the castle, because you can't fight the big axe man straight away.
yeah.
Then you go and do the dollies bit. We've had that bit, and then I
Mm,
imagine whatever I've got left
yeah. There's
will
not too
probably be
much
a little bit
left.
more combat heavy or something like that. But
It's very
we'll
interesting. without, I mean, this isn't a spoiler, but do you have any idea what so that basically there's a a presence guiding you that keeps writing messages in shiny writing, right? Like the magic pen, um, that used to tell you how to do handwriting. Do you have any idea what that could be at this stage?
Um, oh, either it's going to be a character in the outside world trying to guide me back and I'm in some sort of coma, or it's going to be popular and interesting character Ethan Winters back again.
Popular, and interesting, faceless man. Well, this is the thing. I started playing the game in third person mode as well, which is weird because you do try and like look at him, and he'll turn at the very
It's like the
exact
cover of
moment.
the thing, just a
But I feel
glowing
like,
light.
yeah, exactly. I feel like I've seen enough of him now that I could pick him out in a lineup. Though it's not like it's not like his face is so secretive. I'm like, all right, well, we get it, we get it. Um, but yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I've watched a couple of other things. I watched Twilight Zone the movie, but we were also talking about maybe covering that on the podcast soon, so I won't go into that too heavily. I did on top of the 101 scariest moments. I was like, what other little documentaries are there? And there's a documentary called Hail to the Deadites on Shudder as well, which is all about fans of Evil Dead. And it's fan made, it's fan focused, which I think gives it a certain quality. But as a documentary, it feels a bit like removed from the franchise because it's got no footage of the franchise in it. There's no Sam Raimi. There's Bruce Campbell, yes. It kind of focuses on some weird stuff like these two people who like Evil Dead getting married and some other bits and bobs. So for me, I wasn't particularly into it. But I think if you enjoy things like that, and it felt more like a YouTube video than a documentary, when someone's like, we're going to this convention to meet the people who starred in Evil Dead. That sounds up your street, then definitely check it out. There's a few more documentaries on Shudder that I've not seen that I think I'm going to go and check out as well.
There we
Yeah, but,
go.
but apart from that,
You know what we both watched?
we've both watched Howling 2. Not the Howling 2, but the title of this is something of a sticking point, right? So, Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf,
Yeah, your sister's an elf.
also known as Howling 2, and Howling 2 Stirba Werewolf Bitch. Stirba? Is that right?
Stirba, yes.
Stirba Werewolf Bitch. So, is a 1985 American horror film directed by Philippe Mora, and it's a direct sequel to the 1981 film The Howling, which obviously we've previously covered on the podcast. It stars horror film veteran Christopher Lee in some lovely sunglasses, along with Red Brown and Annie McEnroe as they try to defeat Sybil Danning's werewolf queen Stirba and stop a werewolf group's plans to conquer the world. I mean, very like loose plans to conquer the world. That is essentially the plot in a nutshell. Even though I have to admit I was a little bit lost, even though this is the second time I've seen it in 6 months. Uh, 3.7 on IMDb, 31% critic score, 14% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, 2.4 on Letterboxd. Some choice reviews here. I'm going to start off with a good one, and then a bad one, and another good one. Classic shit sandwich. But Belial Carboni says Belial, he's on Letterboxd. What a ride! Another Howling sequel that easily surpasses the original. 4 stars. Interesting. Sounds like a fan of the franchise. Corey says mind-numbing nonsense. Christopher Lee is criminally underutilized. Then that's strike 1 and 2, but strike 3 is just this horrible ambiance built around what is essentially just a werewolf orgy cult. 1.5 stars. And Bob McCulley says, every once in a while, I get to experience the amazing feeling of watching a horror movie so gnarly that it beckons me to say out loud in my living room, how have I never seen this before? 4 stars.
Good on you.
Good on you. Yeah, so obviously you've done your Howling rewatch of the whole franchise, and this was one that piqued your interest.
Yeah, I'm a big apologist for some of the other Howling films. Like, very few stand up to, I would say, Joe Dante's actually good werewolf movie, the original Howling. I
Yeah.
think the original Howling has werewolf transformations that rival the best examples we've seen in the genre. I think it's up there with like American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, definitely.
for the trans, and similar time frame of release, right? I think the later parts of the franchise, when you get very late, they get sort of late 90s, early 2000s levels of
Okay.
cliched. But
Okay.
the third one in the series as well, the marsupials, which is about like
Yeah,
different sets of werewolves that are in
I
Australia.
watched
Dead interesting. Have you seen that one?
I did watch that one as well. I think
Yeah.
I watched this one and that one like like pretty much a double bill back in back like 6 months ago. When
Um,
I think you were doing the rewatch and I was like, yeah, I'll get involved in this rewatch, and then just lost momentum after
Yeah,
the
but
after
like
two
with
or
these other
three.
ones, like you talk about this one, like apparently part of the trivia that I read upon this movie was that when Christopher Lee was in Gremlins 2 with with Joe
Oh
Dante,
yeah.
obviously, one of the
Yeah.
first things he did was apologize for being in Howling 2. But
Oh
Christopher,
right, okay.
I don't think you needed to. I think
Got into a fight.
this has got some fun things. Other bits of trivia I found here while we're on the trivia. This is just from
Yeah,
IMDb.
yeah, yeah.
Apparently, Sybil couple of things about Sybil Danning, the titular Stirba werewolf bitch.
Yeah.
Um, she was
Titular.
she was sick of having to go topless, as you mentioned, titular things. Sick of having to go topless and nude so often in her other movies. I don't think I've seen many other movies with Sybil Danning in. I might have to go and see. I'm so sick of it. But
Well, maybe
so
maybe you have.
she didn't want to do too many topless shots, but they thought, no, we're gonna have to do one. So they just agreed they would do just the one. I mean, they managed to get plenty of exploitation out of one day's worth of it, but
It was
other
literally
than that,
it was on repeat during the
oh, in the
during the
music video, they obviously got the most out of that little clip. But you
literally
know
remember
where
that
she
clip
wears
of
those
her.
big sunglasses, she gets her aviators out later on.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's because she had conjunctivitis in real life. I went, "Can I wear this?" And the director said, "You're the queen of the
Yeah.
werewolves. You can wear whatever you want."
Well, there we go. I wonder what the creative decision was behind making everybody wear those weird white wraparound sunglasses as well.
Oh,
What would you say?
when you go to a now I wrote the name of the band down. When you go to a Babel concert, then you might that might be standard fare.
I'm sorry to go back to Sybil Danning's um, topless scene. How many times do you think that bearing of Sybil Danning's breast is repeated during the movie's ending? How many times would you say?
Have you got an actual number for me to be right or wrong on?
Yes.
Um, 19.
Oh, 17.
Oh, so close.
You were counting. You were counting. 17 times this is. If it gets to 20, I'll press stop. Uh,
I've seen enough of these credits. Thanks. Um, what a film. I think my note on this is that every aspect of this film is absolutely dialed up to 11. The aesthetics, the acting, the action, got some eye pops in there. You
yeah.
got all kinds.
You got like some sort of like dwarf hitman slash dwarf. What
Well,
would you say he is?
he's like an assistant
Assistant.
until he gets magicked, and he's got a bommy knocker. Um,
Don't anybody's earplugs fall out.
yeah, that's what happens. Then that's when he gets magicked and gets turned into a horrible little ghouly man.
Yes, bloody magic turned into a ghouly man. Yeah, there's a Don't Look Now vibe as well with it when there's like a little creepy kid um who reveals
That's him in
itself
disguise.
to be is it him?
Yeah, so after he's been magicked, he disguises himself. But we'll come
Didn't
to
even
it.
didn't even realize that killer. See, this film, it does sort of fly around in a lot of different places where I was a bit like, wait, what is going on? But in terms of like how it's
I'd have
linked.
criticised it in the past, but then someone, I think a proper film scholar recently, when I was complaining about the madness we've seen in some giallo movies we've covered, apparently they're meant to have a dreamlike quality. So if you don't completely lose track of what's happening, you're not
Oh, I
watching it
see.
properly.
Are we saying the Howling 2 is some sort of giallo masterpiece?
Yes, some people might say
Yes. So
that.
in terms of how it's connected to the first movie, so it's Dee Wallace's character who is played by somebody else. Well, is dead, but is played by somebody else, right?
Yeah, we get some clips of her later, which obviously the funeral director did wonders in making her up to look like a different actor. But
Different person
um,
completely. So she's died, but her brother is trying to get to the bottom of how and why she died, because obviously she's been killed.
Probably shot on live telly. Should have known.
Shot on live telly. But this is the thing, like they talk about this as if it's like a recording on it. This is fake. This never happened. But if it was actually on live TV, it'd be like one of the biggest things in the world, right? Wouldn't it?
Because it was the news as well, which might go out live. Maybe it was just a recording of the news, and it
Yeah,
never
maybe
was.
it was.
And it
But
was.
I tell you
Can you
what,
imagine? Like, what's his name? Jim Norton was on there, like it's all right on the. It'll be all right on the night. Now look at this little clip of when the news when the news goes
a
wrong.
little bit embarrassing, and a little bit of a hairy situation.
Yeah, the news anchor's actually a werewolf. Thankfully,
Yeah.
there are lots of people in the studio with guns to blow her away.
Yeah, that's good. Everyone's just ready to go. Which I think is a fantastic ending to like the first movie.
Yeah. And then we get the werewolf woman, the one that seduces the problematic main guy. He turns into like a werewolf while he's having an affair with her.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, problematic main guy. Yeah, exactly. Which I think from watching In Search of Darkness, and Dee Wallace, I think she was in an actual relationship with that guy as well.
She?
And she talks about being in a relationship with him and like witnessing him having that sex scene, and how he disapproved of her having some sex scenes, I believe. Go and watch In Search of Darkness. It covers it in greater detail.
I haven't got to that bit yet. I'll get there.
Christopher Lee, though, he had this weird period, didn't he, in the 80s, where he was just popping up in everything. Where, because this feels, I don't want to be mean about the film because I don't think the film's terrible. However, it feels like one of those films. Like, is it a bit beneath him? I don't know. Like, I feel like he was just appearing in pretty much anything and everything at this point in his career.
Yeah,
do you agree with that? What do you think?
I think it's very true. I think that you can take some films for their artistic integrity. You can take some films because they send they send an important message. But like Michael Caine himself, you can take Jaws: The Revenge because it buys your mom a new house.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's probably a case of that one.
And he's never seen it before.
But I don't think that taken in the right context, this is a bad film or something to be ashamed of. It's something very different from the original Howling, which tells a message. It has the excesses of a very big exploitation era movie. It is the film that has allowed me to now continue with my ongoing belief that anyone who tells you that vampires are the horniest of the classic monsters can get in the bin, because they've not seen they've not watched enough of the Howling franchise to understand these vampires have got nothing. They got no game. They ain't DTF like those werewolves.
I don't know how I feel about that as well. Like, are we watching a sex scene or is it just straight up bestiality? Because I feel like it could be the latter.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, to begin with, it's definitely not. I wonder at what point during a werewolf transformation, because you would imagine if they would ultimately turn into wolves, at what point do you get extra nipples?
That's true. Did you notice Jimmy Nail in this film as well?
I noticed Jimmy Nail, and I also noticed friend of the show and previous guest Dan Butcher in a key role as well.
Wait. Who was he? One of the guys at the start. The guy Dan, like, don't get him angry. Oh, was he like the main werewolf dude?
Yeah, the main werewolf dude. Exactly.
Yeah. That's what you mean. Strong jawline is what we're saying, right?
Yeah, strong jawline, classic action hero look. I think Dan could do the Jambajaya like chant that they do, and then spend the rest of his time at a local village fete just clapping at puppet shows.
Bloody village fete.
It goes on for days.
The fact it was like a village fete celebrating at full moon, and the puppet show like had wolves in it and stuff, you would just be like, hang on a minute. We're hunting werewolves in Transylvania.
What comes as we go through the plot, but it feels like for a large portion of this film, our two main characters that aren't Stefan, Christopher Lee, wildly swing between being on a mission where they've gone specifically to the old country to kill a werewolf queen, to just being on a holiday.
Having sexy time in the hotel, just chilling out and going, do you want to go get some dinner somewhere? Asking stupid questions. One of the most stupid questions I've ever heard anybody ask in this film It's when they go, we're supposed to be meeting someone here, and they ask the man at the hotel. They go, "Have you seen a stranger in town?" "Oh yeah, sorry, I just know everybody in this town. I know everyone. And if I see a stranger, oh, and they'll go, "What?" He goes, "What does he look like?" He's like, "Oh, you wouldn't have to ask that if you." It's just Christopher Lee, right?
Yeah.
So
Christopher Lee, an old white
it's
man,
an old white man. So like, it's
big
such a
wraparound
stupid question.
sunglasses.
It's literally like it is like getting on the bus and going, "One ticket to my house, please." It's just like it's ridiculous. You're just like expecting so much from
My
people.
favorite part in that hotel exchange is, "Oh, you're in room 666." They go look at
Oh
him and
yeah.
go, "This hotel doesn't look big enough to have 6 floors." And this guy loses it. He's like, "Ah, no, it doesn't, does it?" Oh well, see ya.
I don't think I've ever walked into a hotel and gone like done a mental checklist of how many floors it's got in
I
my
guess it
head.
depends. Like if you walked into it looks like a regular size house, like a B&B or a
Okay.
pub, and
Yeah,
you've
yeah,
gone,
okay.
"Oh yeah, you're on the 31st floor." You'd
You walk into a Premier Inn and they go, you're upstairs in the what's it
You're
called?
up. You're up on 49.
Penthouse.
Sorry.
You're in the penthouse suite. Right on the it's on the roof. Yeah, yeah, it's on the roof. Lovely. So yeah, obviously in terms of we've mentioned like some of the cast pretty much. I mean that's everyone you need to know. Sybil Danning as Stirba, the werewolf queen, and Christopher Lee as Stefan Crossco. He does love playing these sort of roles, doesn't he? Like these sort of mysterious, um, sort of they know the secrets and they're sort of like the hero or essentially not the man of science, but the man of understanding based
Yeah,
on
the man of letters, the man of
the man.
wisdom, and
Yeah, the
this is where
wisdom man.
we get Christopher Lee and a skeleton doing a reading at the beginning, don't we? Like the opening of the film with some lovely monologue, which is like, "And lo, on this day, the horrible werewolf was made, and in
Yeah.
generations there would come a time that we would have to stop them before all terribleness was happening." And now on with the
Mm,
film.
exactly. And now on with the film, indeed. So you might have to guide me a little bit with this. Unfortunately,
It's okay. It's a dreamlike
not
piece
that
of giallo cinema. It's all right.
not I don't take this podcast seriously, but sometimes I definitely do struggle with making sense of film. So it starts with the funeral of journalist Karen White, played by Dee Wallace in the original, and Ben White is also the name of a famous Arsenal footballer now, but it's not that. It's not him.
He's
Attends.
just he's at the funeral, and the bit I love about the funeral that begins is that the first line of non-narration dialogue we get sounds like the priest's having a stressful day because it begins by going, "Oh God,"
Oh
uh,
God! Oh, what's wrong, mate? Nothing.
and then he goes, "Oh God," but then he says like, "Karen was a victim of a terrible crime, a senseless man." I was like, "No, there was definitely a reason behind it. She was turning into a bloody werewolf. She
She
was
was turned
shot.
into a bloody
It
werewolf. Does
wasn't a
that?
random act of violence, but I'm guessing because it was covered up."
Are we made to think that whoever shot her like got done for it? Seems mean,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
I guess it's just been covered up. But Christopher Lee's at the funeral, and we quickly established that he's not an invited guest. Really interesting aesthetic designs in that Karen's coffin appears to have like a glass window.
Yeah, open casket, which is
Well, open casket, but then even when it's closed, it has a see-through front, so you can continue to see her
oh,
like
okay.
she's
So
in a Snow White coffin.
a constant open casket. Also, who does Christopher Lee think he is? Just turning up unannounced to funerals, like some sort of funeral crasher.
And going up to Ben and going, "Sister's a werewolf, mate." And he goes, "How could he dare you?"
How dare you? This is a day of mourning, and I don't want anyone saying you're the third person today who's told me she was a werewolf. I'm starting to think.
Can you imagine if that was your hobby? That would be brilliant. If you didn't have like if we didn't have
Yeah.
like a life and job and family to
Ah,
maintain,
you know
just turning
what?
up at funerals of people you didn't know, looking at the obituaries, turning up in a suit, standing at the back and going, "Sorry to tell you this on a difficult day already. You must have had a really long one, but I'm afraid you've got to
Yeah.
play your hand. You've got to look at someone at the funeral to look who might be a brother,
Yeah.
because then you can't go.
Don't just ask anyone. Don't just ask anybody, like a
You've got to look for
neighbor
someone who
or
could be a
something.
sibling. It could be a sister.
Yeah.
But you can't be like your sister's werewolf because it was my mom. Fuck, got it wrong. My joke hasn't
Jesus.
worked. Um, but yeah, he says to Elf, he goes, "How dare you?" But he's not the only one there. Before you know it, a mismatched
Genius.
werewolf couple, like a man who looks like an elderly artist with some flowers, and then I guess, sort of a mini boss of the werewolves, like a young woman werewolf as
Yeah,
well.
mini boss, like right hand man, lady, obviously.
And she is played by let's have a
A
look at Marsha Hunt.
mysterious Marsha Hunt. Yeah, yeah, that's right, isn't it? Who? Yeah, there's someone when she transforms. There's like a close up shot of her bloody mouth and her like disfigured
Big old
face, and
wolf
it
gob.
looks really horrific. But yeah, so Ben meets Jenny Templeton, who's like one of Karen's colleagues and like a journalist who's also trying to get to the bottom of it. So she didn't like witness it, but she's got
She was off
videotaped
that day.
evidence. She was she was off that day. I had annual leave. What I like about this as well is when Ben is basically telling Christopher Lee to piss off. Christopher Lee like gives him his card, but Ben just goes, "Why don't you get out of here?" But like keeps the card because plot.
Yeah.
So he's like,
What are you?
"Why don't you
What
just get
are
out of it? I'm bloody had enough of you." And you think anyone in that situation who was that angry would sling in the card and rip it up, but he keeps it because plot.
I guess also maybe in the 1980s, you'd be less inclined to throw something away because you wouldn't be able to Google it later. You hadn't got that skill yet.
Mm.
Like
Also, he is just
nowadays, if
outside.
Christopher Lee
Just
showed
outside.
you a card, you'd be like, "It's all right, I'll look him up if I want to talk to him."
Yeah. Also, they are just in a graveyard, or just outside a church, and I feel like littering's bad enough, but littering it on some sacred land, which you may believe, even worse. You know,
Yeah,
£100 fine for
absolutely.
littering, £200 fine if you do it outside a house of God,
Yeah.
possibly.
So yeah, they have that little encounter, and then we flash forward to, don't know, is this the wake? Is this a later the same evening when there's a big old rave going on,
Yeah,
and
I think I felt like this was maybe later the same evening, or maybe a couple of days later. Who knows?
I mean, if you're in town for the funeral and there's a local band playing, then why not? You're not in town every day, are you? So
Marcia Hunt's character Mariana is described here as a lusty werewolf siren, and her minion Earl, who is played by that old fella Ferdy Main.
how's that, Earl?
Earl, imagine that, right? Because if you join some sort of werewolf orgy cult who want to take over the world and resurrect the queen of the werewolves, and you were a lusty werewolf siren called Mariana, right? Who am I teaming up with then? I'm going out there. I'm going out on the. I'm
Can I
going out
take
on
can
the
I
floor.
take
Can I?
Fang with me, or buddy Colossus? You're taking Earl.
You're taking Earl. Earl's an old man. He's not even a werewolf. Is he a werewolf? I'm assuming he
He
is.
is a werewolf, but
An
stitches
old.
him up
Oh
pretty
yeah.
quick.
Oh yeah. An old werewolf. Yeah. Um. It, I've got to be honest. Earl's absolutely ancient, and I'm out there fighting Jimmy Nail. So I need someone who can handle themselves. Sorry, Earl's the only person available. See you
Yeah.
later.
Oh, come on. No, sorry, we're all getting to the old country. One of us got to rent a van to eat some hitchhikers in later. You just go to the funeral and get Karen, will you? All right, I guess. But yeah, they've gone to there's a big old rave up there. Christopher Lee's there. He's iconic moment of the film. He gets his wraparound shades to go into the but he doesn't do anything at this disco. He is just there when other things incidentally happen, right?
I reckon he's just having a night out, and it just happens that.
He's just keeping an eye on him, right?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Um, so he's around there. You're a music man, Ben. Does the band on stage match the aesthetic of the crowd that are watching them? Because it feels like it's quite a punk
Yeah, they're kind of
crowd
like
with
yeah,
denim and giving the band the finger, but it feels like the band playing are like, I don't know,
sort of
like a
new wave,
synth,
sort of
yeah,
synthy.
synth
Yeah, yeah,
new
yeah.
wave, maybe
What
a
are they?
little
What
bit.
are they called
If they
again?
had enough brass, they'd have some ska vibes to them.
Yeah, what are they
It's
called?
called Babel.
Babel. Oh yeah, because the song is actually called Howling as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
We're
and
gonna
that
we're gonna
song, not since Killer Clowns from Outer Space have we seen a singular song get quite so much playtime as this does
yeah.
in this film.
To be fair, the 80s was weird. So like, even if the band doesn't necessarily look or sound sound correct, You know, they probably would have gained popularity in different sort of circles. But yeah, a bit weird, a little bit annoying in a way. I was just like, oh, shut up, will you lot?
They're doing this song. They've got the crowd going. Everyone's there. There's some interesting graffiti that describes the place they're at as the Bat Cave. Um,
Oh yeah, that's more vampire, isn't it? It's described here. It says if you click on the scene, like I'm just looking, I've managed to find a really good GIF of Christopher Lee in the glasses with his sort of like brown leather jacket and a
oh, he's in his
red,
casual wear.
a shiny red shirt as well. And it said that the Howling Halloween Shindig. Interesting. Halloween?
Yeah, he's there. He's amongst it. The reason for my gasp of amusement then was that I thought I was just calling that man Jimmy Nail because he looks an awful like him.
It's
It is
actually Jimmy
actually him.
Nail. Yeah,
It's actually
that's what I said.
Jimmy
Did you
Nail.
spot Jimmy Nail? And you were like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
thought you were just saying, bloody hell, that looks like Jimmy
It's
Nail.
actually Jimmy Nail.
It's actually Jimmy
If
Nail.
you Google Howling 2, which is what I did when I was just looking for stuff, it's that there's like 6 photos that come up at the start, and Jimmy Nail's one of them. So he made it into the top 6 build people, and he's
Jimmy
barely in it, is
Nail
he?
is one of 3 people that approach Mariana, the werewolf siren, the deadly werewolf siren, in this club.
Yeah,
Um, he's actually Jimmy Nail is just there. He's got his own girlfriend with him, but 2 of the other buddy larrikins that he's with come
yeah.
up and say, "Here, can I buy you a buy you a drink?" And she's like, Turks, no." And then the other one goes, "Oh, would you be interested in?" Basically, as blunt as you like. I think he might say you're interested in partying, but you might as well say, "Do you want to do some fucking then?"
Do you want to
Um,
do some? You don't want to drink? What? You don't want to drink with me? Well, would you like to have sexual intercourse with me? And she goes, yeah, all right. Which
Never thought you'd bloody ask, actually.
I wonder how many times that's worked for him. Got to be the first.
Yeah. You think, yeah, I bet like he's either never tried before or it struck out so many times. This probably informed a generation that whistling at people across roads and stuff like that is an effective way to engage them in conversation. But these guys are well up for it. The one thing that this did leave me with horrors of, Ben, is the horrors of the modern world, because he says, hey, sorry, it's in a slightly later scene, but I'll finish the thought. A bit later on, one of these rude men says, "Oh, I've got a little something for you," and then he unzips and zips up the fly of his trousers so rapidly that I do not think modern zips are capable of doing that.
No, and I always think
Have
of
you got
that
any
moment.
trousers with such a loose operating zip, Ben, that you could
What does he
unzip
do?
and zip up your
What's that
trousers that
supposed to mean
quickly?
as well? What's that supposed to mean? Is it like again? Is it kind of like a fret, just like a really quick unzipping? And it also makes me think of that moment in There's Something About Mary when Ben Stiller catches just a small amount of penis slash potentially foreskin in the zip, and I think we even get a look at it as well, and that's haunted me. Talking about Kindertrauma, even though what that came out in 97, I probably would have saw it when I was like 11 or 12. That used to terrify me because I was always the kind of person who would unzip and have a little whittle straight through the zip hole. I think ever since then I've been someone who undoes the belt as well, opens the whole thing up.
Got to
Don't want
be
to get caught.
careful.
Don't want to get caught
Um,
short, literally.
but this guy gets caught a bit short because when speaking to Werewolf Siren, once she agrees that she's going to go to a that she's going to go, she's, have you got a place we can go? So yeah, I've got an abandoned warehouse, and Jimmy Nail and Co.
I've got an
all
abandoned warehouse.
all nip along to this abandoned warehouse with her. She runs off and does some howling, titular howling, um, and they're like, Jimmy Nail is with his girlfriend and says, "Oh, I'll tell you what, lads, leave you to it. We're off to get started on our own. Nothing gets us in the mood for some romantic sex than being in an abandoned warehouse with my
Yeah,
associates."
load of broken glass on the floor.
Yeah.
Uh,
So um, at that point, um, so Mariana steps out into the open, just the pants on now, as otherwise stripped off.
mm,
Um, and the 2 other guys are like, "Oh, are you ready to play? Because tell you what, we like playing rough in these parts." a statement which is immediately proved false when from off screen one of them gets bottled and he gets real angry about it. I would say, arguably, if you say you love playing rough, getting smashed with a bottle,
You should
it should have
include
been
getting
like, oh, you're
bottled.
playing the game.
You should include get bottled with that, and then he says, "Oh, you've made him mad. You don't like him when he's mad," and his hair's all like disheveled, and he just looks like a bit of a dweeb. And the fact that they're saying he's supposed to be someone you need to be scared of is actually quite silly. But yeah, they get
He
they
gets
get
out
there.
he gets out a little cutty knife and he goes around the corner and gets his arm chomped off.
A little cutty knife. And they've always got one ready to go, haven't they? A little switchblade. Come on.
Little switchblade. In the
Little
80s, you just
switchblade.
get given one when you leave school.
Yeah. And then what? I'm a bit lost what happens now.
So in this warehouse, basically, these people get absolutely decimated because this fella gets his arm off, gets his arm bitten off. Jimmy Nail's girlfriend screams. They all run for it. Jimmy Nail is the next one to be eliminated because he wasn't even involved in this aggressive group sex situation. He kind of
No.
comes back and sees that the werewolves are at it, and he gets pretty Donkey Kong up in the rafters. Wazes a massive crate at him.
Yeah.
He gets bashed under a crate.
Donkey Kong.
Yeah, a
Bloody
big
hell,
crate
Jimmy.
comes from nowhere. He's stuck under it, and then he gets slurped off.
Slurped off, yeah. There we
He
go.
gets slurped off, and then the other thug gets pushed off the roof, and then Jimmy Nail's girlfriend, who almost makes it to the door, gets a big horrible werewolf hand, gets her, and she gets dragged off back inside. So they've all been
Yeah. The creature design and effects are like pretty effective. Like again, I keep going back to this Kindertrauma thing. This is exactly the kind of look of like a creature that would have scared me when I was a kid. It was usually like a female creature or like a woman who transformed into something. Maybe that's got connotations of how I grew up. Who knows? Don't don't want to say don't want to say one way or another. But unnameable.
Ben's childhood, wall to wall Stirba bitches.
un Unnameable used to scare me. Species, female werewolves in this, terrifying. I think something about it in there because who knows? You could I could go to therapy and they could find out so many different things about.
Have a real good conversation about this.
Real good conversation about it. And I'd be like, have you seen the Werewolf Bitch? And by Werewolf Bitch, I mean the my sister is a werewolf bit. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think it's offensive to use it in the term because they are a dog type creature. That is a scientific term. You're fine.
Yeah, I did see a video recently where it was like that people are weird who insist calling female dogs bitches. Oh, is it a boy or a girl? It's a bitch. Oh, that's a bit aggressive. Not very nice.
Are you a dog? Are you a dog scientist? I am actually. Oh, okay then.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, so they've all been got, and I think it's successful in doing what they can with what they have because we get some good face makeup of a half transformed Mariana. Looking out, big nasty crinkled up nose like you'd get if you were turning into a werewolf.
Yeah.
And then big teddy bear arm that slurps off Jimmy Nail's girlfriend.
Big teddy bear arm.
Big bungle gets her.
Bungle.
Yeah.
Bungle's pretty scary as well. So where do we go to this? Because obviously not long after this is when the videotaped evidence of Karen's transformation is like presented to.
They show it to Ben. He goes, "Fake, isn't it?
Fake." I've seen. It's fake. It's fake. Does that happen on the day she died though? Yeah, it's a coincidence. What does he think happened? Because then Christopher Lee says she was killed by this silver bullet.
She was killed, but no, she got killed by regular bullets, but she'll come back unless she's.
Oh yeah, that's right. Of course, yeah. Sorry, because I was about to say why did they have silver bullets, but no, they didn't. Killed by a regular bullet. She'll come back. So essentially, we need to go and kill her dead body, so it doesn't before it rises from the grave, which is handy because she's in a see-through coffin.
Yeah, she's in a see-through coffin, so we can check how she's doing. I'm not sure if it's at this point or it was already or it's later, but I think Christopher Lee does point out at some point quite soon in the movie that we are reaching the Werewolf Queen's 10,000th birthday. To be fair, even before she transforms, she's looking well for 10,000 years old.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd say like a day over 85. Yeah, she's
Maybe.
looking right for 10,000 years old, and during this period, for the full moon that marks her 10,000th birthday, all of the world's werewolves will reveal themselves in various different stages of transformation as we get closer to it. Meaning, there's going to be werewolves up until the point, not just at the end.
Yeah.
So he has to do something about it, but his first job is to kill Karen. Thinking about it, would you be quite traumatized, Ben? Maybe you'd be inclined to say it was a fake as well. Someone goes, picture unpleasant thought, Ben, but imagine you've just been to your sister's funeral, ever so sad, and then someone
Yeah.
goes, "Hey, do you want to see a videotape of the day she was brutally shot to death?"
I'll have a look. Yeah, I'll have a look. I'm just curious, if anything. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't. But also, I don't know if my first thing would be to say it's fake, because I'd just be like, first of all, it's 1985. Deep fake technology doesn't exist yet. You know, it kind of feel, have they got the budget to make a fake like that? Who knows?
No, but he doesn't believe it anyway. So the next
Good.
thing you know, cut to the next evening, and Christopher Lee's not got a gig tonight, so he is at the graveyard, about to vampire kill Karen's dead body.
Yeah. Because it is like a
uh,
vampire kill, isn't it? Essentially,
yeah,
he's staking them to death, which I'm just thinking, is the stake just made of silver? Is that why this works in terms of killing werewolves? I'm not sure what the rules
yeah. I guess if
are.
it's a silver stake, that would work. Although titanium comes into it later, but as Stefan Christopher Lee is about to perform the ritual, um, Ben and Annie turn up on the scene, and Ben goes,
Mm-hmm.
"Yeah, stab my sister's dead body in a glass coffin. I will absolutely blow your head off." And then, before
Yeah.
Christopher can finish arguing with him, Karen transforms into a werewolf, and big, big werewolf hands come out and grab Christopher Lee. So we did just stick her, and she turns back to normal. But then it's like a light gun game in this. There are several sections of this where all of a
Yeah.
sudden, from several angles, loads of werewolves just come
Loads of werewolves
hammering
pop out.
in.
They were just chilling out, ready for this to happen. They were like, she's going to come back. We better hang around. But yeah, it's like a light gun game, like an on-rail shooter where you're just like, whoa.
Yeah, and like literally, he's like blazing away with all the guns. It was like Garth Marenghi. So he's like firing the shotgun around, blowing werewolves away. And unfortunately, Earl does catch a bullet here. So Earl gets shot.
Unfortunately, Earl fans. I was like,
Unfortunately,
take
we do
anyone,
we
never take Earl.
Fortunately, we
Poor
do
Earl.
lose Earl at this point. Like, the werewolves are fended off in a hail of bullets, and as they're running away out of the crypt where Karen was being buried, they grab a net that's by the door.
Who's
That's not a
Annette?
woman called Annette. That's Christopher Stefan's wife.
I love going. I go fishing every week with my two mates, Rod and Annette.
So they take a net out and they capture Earl in it. And he's there going, "Oh, please help me." I don't think I liked being a werewolf very much. He's like, "Oh, please
He
help."
goes, I've been a werewolf for years, and it's bloody agony.
It's bloody agony. Sick of it.
Sick of it.
And he goes, "Oh,
Bloody gutsy.
tell us where Stirba is." She goes, "Oh, she's in the old country. Now, please help us." Christopher Lee's like, "All right then, stab." Christopher Lee loves a stab in this. It's his
Christopher
special move.
Lee said you're going to help her and then stabs him. Yeah, so we find out that Stirba is in Transylvania in the Balkans. What's that, like Bulgaria and all
It's
those
like
places?
Romanian. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
in that area, isn't it? Where Transylvania is like a
And he
area
essentially
in Romania.
enlists Ben and Jenny, the brother of a werewolf girl who he's just killed, and Jenny, a journalist, because who else would you want to accompany you there to Transylvania to battle the queen of the werewolves, Stirba, a
And the
mortal werewolf queen.
and the film is structured. I'm sure they must take a flight from America at some point, but it looks like they've just gone on a massive drive with Christopher Lee sleeping in the back of the car.
Just drive there, innit? I don't think we can physically do that. We're gonna have to get a plane at least. Nah, put your foot down.
Get him
I
Ford
want.
Cortina, mate. That's
I think anything like this needs an Indiana Jones style dotted
little
line
map.
appearing
Yeah.
appearing across the thing. I think
But
it for me it works better than anything.
but we see everyone traveling. We see the werewolves going. They've taken a lovely train, and there's a lovely bit where Mariana meets a like a werewolf checkpoint man. They give each other a little sniff. Gets a little sniff werewolf acting,
Give
and
each other a
then
little sniff.
they
Oh, that's
both get out a
ridiculous.
medallion, and the two
Yeah.
halves go together. And it's like, oh,
Oh,
that's nice.
oh
Um,
yeah, I like that.
Meanwhile,
That's
we
great.
see, and then they get in a car. They pick up some German hitchhikers that immediately they eat in the back of the car.
Well,
They're having a
they
lovely werewolf road trip.
they focus on the German hitchhikers' bums in shorts at one point as well, don't they? It like
Yeah,
pans up their legs and like lingers on there, which is again, it's interesting for like a 80s movie and an 80s horror movie, which has got a lot of sexual sort of content in it to kind of focus on men as well as
it's not
women.
just it's not just for your people looking after women's flesh. There's lovely close up of some, and they're hitchhikers. They're walking all day. They're good
The
ham
buns of
hocks there.
steel. Hammocks.
Yeah, so as the werewolves are driving along, it's like, oh, they're getting hungry back now because I didn't bring any food. New,
Yeah.
I don't want to stop at the services in this economy. And then you see the hitchhikers, they go, oh, get in. And then hilariously, as they're
Oh
driving
dear.
away, you can see the actors playing the hitchhikers sort of gently being put in the back of the car, but the sound is like them going, oh no,
Yeah, yeah.
ah.
Oh no, what's
um,
happening?
Meanwhile,
Um,
our heroes are driving, and it just shows the transition of time. If they get in the car, Christopher Lee basically sits back and is like, close his eyes, little car sleep. And then when we get close to the destination, he just sits forward and is awake
it,
again.
it's the best way to time travel, I feel like, especially if you're a long car journey, you're not driving. Get
Yeah,
yourself asleep,
well,
and
there.
it is time. It is like time traveling, exactly. Yeah,
Um,
good
they
times.
get caught in like a little classic trap. Tell you what, Ben, built on The Last of Us. Even Last of Us has copied this. Um, there's
Oh,
like
what?
someone at the side of the road.
Oh
There's a
no.
woman passed out in the street, and all the people are there going, "Oh no, it's been an accident. Thank goodness you're here. You can do something." And the little old lady, she ain't much of an actor.
I
She,
would have immediately been like, something up here, because she's like, oh no, and she's like saying so. What's she saying? Because Jenny, what's her name? Jenny, is incredibly like
trusting.
trusting and sort of empathetic as well. She's kind of like, oh, is everything okay? Are you all right? Oh, poor little old
Uh,
lady.
uh,
And then no, suddenly fangs appear.
yeah, and all the villagers are like absolutely scarpering, and then fangs appear. But thankfully, you know what? Christopher Lee's on top of it. The second her eyes open, he's
Christopher
like,
Lee,
"Stab!"
Christopher Lee is ready to stab you, if you just show any signs of anything that could resemble being a werewolf.
Yeah,
If you haven't shaved for a little while, he'll go, "What's that? Stab you now. Ask questions later."
you burn yourself on the hob when you're at Christopher Lee's house. You go, "Ow!" He goes, "It's a howl."
That's straight. That's a howl, mate. That's it. Stabbed.
Stabbed with a titanium knife, which is
Yeah.
like silver, but ever so more
Ow.
so.
Yeah.
If
Exactly.
you're listening to Shakira She-Wolf and you're singing along,
Yeah.
I meant to look up the video for Shakira She-Wolf because I was thinking because I feel like our main character, Stirba herself,
Yeah.
I think she has quite Sybil Danning has quite Shakira hair. And if
Yeah.
I
That
was
is Shakira
Shakira,
vibes.
I would have done a homage to that in my She-Wolf video and worn the
Done a
outfit,
She-Wolf video. That would have been a good
worn
idea, wouldn't it? Yeah.
worn the armor. Um, so they survive that ambush,
Mm-hmm.
and then they survive that ambush. But then Christopher Lee's like, oh, "I'm off. Thanks for bringing me this far. Bye." And like, "Where are you
Yeah.
going?" And he just goes, and then they have another ambush when they get back in the car. A little jump scare for you. They're just driving away. There's
Oh
a
dear.
werewolf in the back seat. Thankfully, they've got a loaded gun, and then they just blow him away.
Yeah. He was just chilling. He just wanted to. He's like, "Well, are we there yet?" And they just went boom.
It's
Dead.
lucky that Christopher Lee moves so calmly. Because imagine if he just popped up a gun. Oh, can we stop at the McDonald's? Just turn
Boom.
around.
Deserve it.
Blow this
We've
guy
just started
away.
off. We're not stopping anywhere now. Sorry. Yeah. So then they go to the town, don't they? And this is when Ben and Jenny just go to the hotel. I know we already mentioned it. Is that now?
Yeah, and we have the lovely exchange at the hotel with
Two weird old dudes watching them as well, right?
yeah, but the two Muppet old men
Two
just
Muppet old men
laughing.
watching them, laughing. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Room 666. And yeah, this is where Ben and Jenny seem to be taking this excursion to the Balkans to kill Stirba, treating it like a jolly, like they're on a
It is
jolly.
like a holiday because at first, Ben is like, 2 rooms, please, and then Jenny goes, no, just one's fine.
Just one's absolutely fine. Yeah, don't worry about it.
She's got plans for this holiday.
What is also weird is that they go from being like obviously not knowing each other, they're strangers, to a slight love interest, getting incredibly comfortable with each other to the point where like one of them that's calling the other one babe or what
Yeah,
someone says
sweetheart. No,
sweetheart. It's weird.
it comes incredibly quickly, and it's this scene. Like basically, they get into the hotel room and they walk upstairs, and Jenny goes, "Oh, Ben, actually, I'm ever so frightened." Now, I don't know about you, Ben, but when you are ever so frightened, not just a bit frightened, not had a little bit of a spook, not anxious, not, got a few things on your mind,
Ever surprised.
when you are beside yourself with fear, bearing in mind, you just shot a werewolf in the back of your car on this drive today.
Yeah, you've done it. Werewolves exist. Maybe before you didn't think they did, but now now you know they.
Yeah,
You've
now
seen it.
you're
The
convinced of it.
evidence.
When you are that level of frightened, do you really want to just get your fuck on immediately? just
I mean, I think it depends, right? Because sometimes when the mood takes you, it's quite easy to. I don't want to again. I feel like I'm putting too much out there today. But sometimes, even if you've had a really bad day and it's been absolutely terrible, and you think that I literally don't want to do anything but fall asleep, or just relax in front of the TV. Sometimes, when the moment does take you, it is almost like you kind of forget everything else. So in a way, I'm thinking, and also some people are like, it's just a hotel room that does it to you. It's just the
I'm not
magic
gonna
of
have to
being.
not gonna have to make this bed.
I'm gonna have to clean the sheets. So yeah, that may be what happened. They walked into the hotel room, sat down, and went, "Well, this bed's got to get christened."
Yeah,
Is that a werewolf there,
it's a
ready to
werewolf.
ready to transform?
Little shout at us there. So yeah, they do that, and then this is where they begin their holiday vibes, I guess. Um, but
Gonna
is
see the
this
sights?
now? Yeah, they're going to go and see the sights, but the first sight we're going to see is Sturba's castle.
Oh yeah. So we see Sturba's castle, and this is when it's pretty much straight up into sexy time scene, because what's really weird is that Sturba says, "Bring our daughter, our new daughter, who
A new
is
daughter.
Mariana." But it's
Yeah.
odd that they immediately get into. I mean, I'm sure daughter's not. There's no. It's just a nickname for her. But they immediately get involved in sexy orgy
I
time.
mean, before they do that, I mean, right now, Sturba is old lady at the minute. We
Oh
have to
yeah, of
have
course,
like
yeah.
a little thing where a friend of the show, Dan Butcher, carries in like a sacrificial woman,
And he's dressed like Conan the Barbarian.
dressed like Conan, and saying like a chant with lots of J's in it, like it's Jambol Jolly Jolly Jelly Yo. Um, he
Oh
says that a
yeah,
load of times, and they've got like a vocal effect on them, so they've all got a slightly like echoey voice. Um,
yeah,
they're all doing that. Such a mixed aesthetic in this one, right?
yeah.
There's a man dressed as the Hound, like a big sweaty
Oh yeah. It's
sentry
like
man with a
everybody's
big
got
halberd and a big dog helmet on, but otherwise a bare chested man.
everyone got an invite to this party, and nobody said what the dress code was, and everyone's just turned out wearing whatever the hell they want, essentially.
Yeah, some other people are just like uh, you know, breasts are out over the place. You've got all sorts of experience. You've got some elderly people that are just in kind of leatherette masks, but otherwise
Earl's
robes.
absolutely devastated he's missing this. He might
Yeah,
have
that's
hated being a
why.
werewolf, but he loved the orgy bits.
Yeah, so Is there a place with a big orgy vibe? They say that, and then old lady
Mm.
Stirba snorts the youth out of that woman.
Oh yeah,
Her
it breathes.
face melts,
Yeah,
and as a result, the old lady is restored, like Mumra the Ever Living turns from a
yeah.
withered old form
How come, right?
into Sybil Danning.
How come in all of these films, when there's someone who sucks the life force out of somebody to become young again, why do they let it go on for so long? Why do they let themselves get to like 90 years old before they go, I'm only going to need some life force and restore myself back to being like 25? Why
Yeah,
don't they just
you'd
get,
be like, oh, hang on, I've hit 45. Hang on.
you go, I've hit 45, I'm going to just, or maybe it's like it takes you back so far that you have to wait that long because otherwise,
Otherwise, you turn to like 14.
otherwise, well, even worse than that, otherwise you turn into like 6 months old and
Okay.
you unlearn all the stuff you've learned as well. So you're like just an idiot again.
So if you take if you take someone's life force, you could just have a little suck up a little bit less, I guess.
Yeah, that's
But
a
no,
good
she
point.
doesn't. She's turned herself super young again, and
Yeah,
then this is where she goes. Tell you what, uh, friend of the show, Dan Butcher, bring our new daughter in actually, because
yeah.
fancy a big old werewolf threesome that kind
A
of
big old
cuts
werewolf threesome, yeah.
where
Howling,
sometimes there'll be
hairy
people
bodies.
and sometimes I'll be in full werewolf mode.
Yeah, you go back and forth like an animorph, enjoying it as much as you can. Um,
Yeah. When their new daughter Mariana comes in, very presumptuous, already comes out like just top half off. Straighten yourself up, love, before you come
uh,
in.
she she knows what's going down. She knows what she's there for. I respect her. Um, so along while this is kind of happening and stuff's happening with Sturba, um, Ben and Jenny are kind of like walking around the town while this folk festival's going on, celebrating the new moon. Um,
Watch a puppet show.
yeah, meets like several locals who are like
A
a
little
sworn.
a little person gives them a little
Yeah.
sign and says, "Come over
Oh
here, will
yeah.
you?"
This is
And
this is kind of weird. This
it's
is
meant to be
weird.
dead suspicious, but when he gets around the corner, when they get around the corner, it's like, "Oh no, he's with Christopher Lee. Here he is."
Yeah. Why'd you do that, little dude? What's that character's name? So
Oh, let me have a look here.
there's someone called because there's someone called Stefan as well. Who's like one of them. Uh, oh no, Stefan is the sorry. Stefan's Christopher Lee,
Yeah,
but
Vasily.
I'm not Vasily and is that it? That's the
There's a Tondo. There's a Father Florin.
yeah. All of these people who are opposed to Stirba and they're sort of all banded together. They're like the rebels essentially, a rebel force.
Yeah, a Rebel
Um,
Alliance here.
they do that. And this is when they just start making a plan as to when they're going to attack, isn't it? Really?
Well, they need to find out where she is first, but unfortunately, a holiday gets in the way.
Holiday gets in the
Um,
way. They're having a lovely bit of dinner, seeing the sights, taking in the culture,
yeah.
and the yeah.
So they're all going through, and then at some point, the Ben kind of says to another one of the guys, "Oh, watch Jenny for me for a bit. I'm
Oh
going
yeah,
off," and
gonna
he
get her a
goes
present.
off,
I guess you're gonna get her a present.
gonna get her a present, but he does go exploring to the. Is this the bit where he goes and explores and he finds Sturba? Or is that a bit later?
I'm not sure. As I said, you might have to lead me a little bit.
Okay, let's have a
But yeah,
look here. Let me just check my notes.
so it says one night Ben and Vasil find Sturba's castle, but are forced to flee after being spotted. So what do they go there for? Is that just like a sort of gathering some information based on
Yeah,
where they
so
are?
they find the castle at this point. I think there's been a few cuts here and there because we've you know that section where they're in there is intercut with the werewolf orgy, and then we see Sturba come back with her
Yeah.
iconic sort of armor that she
Hmm.
has on later on. I
Yeah.
think from looking at this, unless people have just done some very detailed fan art, when I was looking for my background, I think there is a comic that featured the Sturba werewolf
Oh
queen
wow. Okay.
character. Maybe there's some Howling comics. You're talking about how
That's
horror
cool.
franchises getting comic adaptations. If you're the Howling already has one,
Hmm.
I might have to look into that a little bit.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so yeah, we there's they go and they look at the castle. Um, so they see there's a sentry outside, but Vasily takes out
With
the
a big
sentry,
helmet on.
whizzing a knife at him,
Yeah, he like goes,
and
watch
then he
this.
goes
Where's the knife in?
charges over with his bombie knocker and finishes him off, or like he's ready for it. And then they look in the window and they see a scene where Stirba, the werewolf bitch queen, has
Yeah,
some massive sunglasses on. Now we know real life conjunctivitis,
conjunctivitis. Yeah,
and they talk about their plan and they look at it like it's a like they act on it like it's a big revelation,
yeah,
but they go effectively what the plan is oh Stefan's after us. I put it to you, we should kill him.
yeah. We'll just
And they're
kill him
like,
back.
oh, kill him?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That is.
Who would have thought the
Um,
werewolves would have come out with that?
so what's going on
Um,
here? Because that Vasil's got like earplugs in to stop. They what do they do? They like magic you with their weird werewolf
yeah,
howling,
because it doesn't
singing.
seem to affect Ben at all. Things really sort of escalate from here, right? So as they're coming away from the castle, Sturba's like, right, all out attack everybody. My magic's all ready to go now.
Yeah.
And loads of werewolves all over start coming out of the woodwork. And now I'm not expressly clear as to whether Vasily's got a bit of werewolf in him or it's just a separate bit of magic. It's
Yeah,
never
it's
really
weird.
established as far as I could gather, but
The werewolf rules in this film are so like incredibly different to the werewolf rules established in the first film that it just does feel like a kind of completely far removed sequel, doesn't it?
they do have that bit where it appears you can transform if you want to, but
Hmm.
also like if you just get sufficiently wound up. And I'm not sure what the deal is with
Sufficiently
with
wind up.
with Vasily, but he trips over and his earplugs fall out, and that means the werewolf shouting appears to affect him, and he sends Ben onwards. He's like, "Chip off, mate. Go tell Stefan what's going on.
I didn't know what
I
it
need to
was first.
fall off into oblivion."
I thought his teeth fell out initially.
I thought it was like big sort of waxy earplugs.
I thought his teeth fell out, and he's like, "Oh no, it's not
Oh
my
my
teeth out."
teeth!
To be fair, if a werewolf like singing or doing some sort of weird howl thing could like knock your teeth out, that's pretty terrifying, isn't it?
Tell you what, though, it gets worse for Vasily any time now because at the same time, so there is another bit where at the same point where Jenny has gone into the woods to catch up with Ben, with the guy that he's left her with, like their other assistant they have, but he's a bit of a creeper anyway, and he's like, oh, I'll
He's
tell you what.
he's 100% creeper because he just goes, "Well, to be fair, I want to make love to you," he says, doesn't he? And you're like, "Hang on a
Yeah.
minute. First of all, why are you saying this when we're in a wooded area? Second of all, you can see that I'm involved with Ben in some way. Third of all, you're a creep. And who does he get like carried off by?
The werewolves turn up and I went, oh,
Werewolves,
I'll tell
yeah.
you what. Is it Mariana that turns up and says, right, going to teach him some manners, actually?
Yeah, yeah,
By
that's
which
right.
it must have been fuck him up because he's not in it again. Is he?
Does it mean that he's a werewolf as well? But he's just obviously not adhering to the rules
He's
that
not
they've obviously
transformed yet because it
established.
did. I guess it does say Stefan says earlier that they'll transform in waves over time. We'll see all kinds of different forms. He shows as like a thing, like he has almost like a reel of effects that says, "Hey, look, it goes from actual wolf to
Yeah,
man with a slightly crinkly face." So
it is
it could be
like
anywhere in between.
it's like an Animorph cover. You know,
Hmm.
like halfway through, someone turning into a dolphin looks incredibly silly. I wouldn't say it looks silly in this, but you know, it does look a bit odd. Yeah.
But they're there.
So it's pretty much now when like everyone just descends upon the castle, like Ben,
Almost.
Stefan,
So we basically
Constantine.
get back. I don't know how. Oh, sorry, the important bit I missed out is we thought Vasily was having a bad time. Then we see Stirba getting some like red magic out of her fingers.
Yeah.
Makes his bloody eyes pop out.
Oh no. Yeah. Hey, when that happens.
He gets turned into a right old ghoulie. He's been got, but then very quickly back in the village. Stefan's just having a walk around. We've seen him having a lovely pipe earlier on.
Hmm.
And then a little kid's just there with one of the charms. I think it's the protection symbol that he gave to the guys earlier on. He gave them one each, and the little kid has one. He's like, literally runs away, going na 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 na, and he
You're like,
chased after this little
how
kid.
did you get this, right?
Yeah, and he's like, how did you get it?
Tell
And
me,
he
tell me where you got this. How did you get this?
Chelsea
And
chases after this little kid,
this is don't
and
look
it's
now vibes here when you
yeah,
chase
and a
after little.
horrible little paper mask. Tell you what, Ben. Years later, we'd see these masks in Brandon Cronenberg's
Oh
Infinity
yeah,
Pool.
exactly. What
Horrible paper mask.
Yeah.
And Christopher Lee comes down. He knows how to talk to kids. Comes down to the level, and he's like, "Come on, you're not in trouble. Don't be afraid, child.
Yeah.
Where did you get that thing from?" But guess what? It's horrible ghouly Vasily. Whips the
Yeah.
mask off. He's got an even more ghouly face underneath. Just shanks him.
Shanks him, yeah, just comes straight out. Doesn't
Christopher
kill him,
Lee's like, "Oh,
luckily.
hoisted by my own petard. That's my
That
move."
that came sharp.
It's come ever so sharp. But thankfully, we're not going to lose the main hope that we have against humanity not falling to Stirba, the werewolf bitch queen. Because Ben comes
Yeah.
piling in and just wazzes Vasily out of the window.
Don't even realize if it's a kid or not. He just goes, right, get out.
Yeah, hoys him out the window.
Slug off.
I tell you what's the worst thing to be? I mean, I would say in your day-to-day life, you want to avoid falling out the window best of
Yeah.
times.
Oh yeah.
If you do fall out the window, my only
Yeah.
recommendation to you would be to try not to fall out of a window. Bloody horrible load of spikes underneath it.
I hate when that
Because
happens as well.
that's what's happened to Vasily here. And
Yeah,
he
it's well annoying.
gets pierced on a spike.
Vasily gets pierced on a spike. Sue Cooks had to pull out.
He gets pierced on some spikes. Stefan quickly gives us, the audience, an explanation that that's actually not Vasily. That's a horrible corruption and like puppet of what is left of him because of
It's not him. Don't worry. It's not
Stirba's
him.
magic.
It looks like him. Nah, it's not him. Don't worry about it.
So in many ways, us throwing him onto a spike was a blessed release.
Yeah, had to happen. Had to happen.
But this is when the gang all get together. They're like,
the gang
right,
all get together. So it's like Ben, Stefan, Constantine,
the father yet, and just some
Father
random
Florin.
dudes.
Yeah, so all the random dudes together. So they get like into battle essentially. If this is an on-rail shooter, this is the final level.
Yeah, this is when you're equipping your party, and it's like, what have we got? We've got some holy water, got this big old axes. We've got some silver bullets for our weapons. I've got these knives.
Yeah.
Titanium.
Goes, have you got any more conventional weapons? And he goes, yeah, I got these bloody knives. Look at the state of them.
Yeah, these are good stabby knives.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher Lee is his bread and butter in this film. A stabby knife.
He's a big stabber on this one. So then we go along. Basically, there is at this point, as they're approaching, we've combined the disco for earlier, well-known band Babel are back at it. They're doing a concert in Transylvania now, in Stirba Bitch's castle.
It's just so strange. It's almost like, hang on a minute, you were doing a concert in America, right? It was America, yeah, United States.
Yeah.
And now, what? You're on tour. You're on a world tour, and you just so happen to also be where we are. That's crazy. And they got to be werewolves as well, right? They got to be.
They must be werewolves as well, but obviously their job is not combat; it is the entertainment.
Yeah.
You have jobs in all kinds of societies, Ben, and not all werewolves are going to be warriors. The same as like, there's probably vampires out there that are, I mean, accountants.
Just can't be bothered. Yeah. Can't be bothered to get involved in all the sucking in the blood. It's just exhausting.
They're doing that. In the meantime, everyone again, delightful. There's quite a lot of bits where they're having this in, and like, Stirba is talking about Stirba. Sorry, get it right. Stirba is talking about, this is going to be the final battle. Don't worry, we're going to deal with Stefan and his dudes. Everyone go out and attack. And she's got like a staff that's like a little Pepper Army pterodactyl on it. And he comes into play a bit later.
That is weird. Old Pepper Army pterodactyl. It looks like beef jerky that's been just like slathered in Vaseline.
And he's on a staff, and she uses him in quite a lot of the magic.
Yeah.
Oh, the bit I forgot to point out is that the head werewolf guy, we mentioned that the festival is there. He's pretty much outside their hotel room all the time, just in his street clothes, doing some local
Yeah,
folk dancing, clapping at the puppet show.
getting involved constantly. Yeah, he
So
loves it.
the both groups have been spying on each other the whole time. And when we had the attack and Jenny was almost got by a horrible, creepy man that was left to watch her, she
Yeah,
has been captured. She's tied up in the sex dungeon now.
yeah, that's right. Tied up in the sex dungeon. Um,
And the attack happens, and we basically get so many fake outs that the attack is over, just mad,
yeah,
wild, like madcap action scenes where people are getting holy water bottles like smashed on them. There's big axes floating around. There's volleys of gunfire. And then the second you think it's over, more werewolves will come and more people get taken out. So it's just like a war of attrition to get to the castle in the first
yeah.
place.
It's like constant waves of enemies. Like you think you're finally, we've got past it. That's got to be it. And is the cutscene about to start? No.
Yeah, or it does start and then there's a QTE. Like beep, 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 beep,
Uh,
beep, quick, wait till there's one more guy
essentially,
coming. But if
yeah,
you didn't answer it quickly. So like, one of the goodies gets got ever so slightly because one guy gets his eye doesn't get a serious injury, just gets a scratch on his eye, and they're
yeah.
like,
That's
"Oh, you
Father
need to go home."
Father
Actually,
Florin. I think. To be fair, if you get your eye scratched, it's pretty bad.
oh no, Father Florin's got some more to come yet. He's got
Oh yeah,
someone gets their eye scratched. Is it Constantine? Maybe he gets his eye scratched, but Florin's one that goes in there with them. Um,
yeah.
they
When Ben
get to the castle.
when do they rescue Jenny?
This is right now that they're going there. This is so they get into the castle. I think
hmm.
we see Stirba has sent Mariana and the main. I can't just keep calling him Dan Butcher. The guy's name is.
What is his
Uh,
name? It's something like Vlad. Is it just Vlad?
yeah, there's
I
a
think maybe
Vlad.
Vlad. I don't want to just be like straight up, we're in Transylvania. There's got to be a Vlad knocking about, but there is a
Yeah,
Vlad knocking
there
about.
is someone called Vlad, and yeah, obviously he's an older gentleman now, in his picture. But yeah, this is him. So
Yeah,
Vlad goes down and he starts doing a bit of werewolf transforming. Mariana says, "Control
that's
it,
what I
will you?"
thought.
And he does. He has a little flashback to when they're having an orgy and goes, "Okay, fine.
Controller,
I
will you?
can."
When's the time to transform into a werewolf when we're literally being there's a siege upon us?
But no, but you've been given some admin to do. Go and get
Right.
prisoner. Go
Okay.
and get Jenny. Um,
I could do it as a werewolf. No, you can't. You've not got
no, you
control.
can't. You're gonna need to do the doors, aren't you? Um, so he's on the way down to get down. Then we see them some things. So the father, the priest, is the first one to encounter Stirba, but
Yeah.
as we already alluded to, even his mighty faith and the weapons he has with him are no match. He did not account for the Pepper Army Dragon,
Pepper Army Dragon, yeah, exactly.
Pepper Army Pterodactyl.
I
Sorry.
don't think anybody would account for a Pepper Army. Like if you know, even if you know you're in a werewolf movie, like what am I going to expect in a werewolf movie? I'll
I'm
fight
going to
some
take
werewolves.
silver weapons. I'm going to fight wolves. You've got to
Yeah,
watch those people doing the transform. You've got to do those things, but not equipped for a Pepper Army Pterodactyl.
no. Who gets killed by the Pepper Army
This is the
Pterodactyl?
priest. It goes,
Yeah, Florin.
it
That's it.
goes in
Oh
his gob,
yeah,
doesn't it?
like yanks its tongue. It's weird because he's kind of like it looks like he's pulling his own tongue out.
Yeah, it's good practical effects. It looks ever so sweaty and stretchy, but the pterodactyl
Yeah,
sort of goes and pecks all of his insides out, and then we see later it's probably like got in his head.
yeah.
And I don't mean like he's just said things that have stuck with him, kept him
It's
awake at night.
mental
He's
gymnastics.
he's
Um,
not been like, "Oh, you're right. You look like you've been crying." And then the
yeah,
priest goes away like, "Oh, I am pretty upset about some stuff actually. Maybe it shows on my face." No, it physically gets all up in his gob
physically
and kills
gob
him.
and me gob. But when Ben rescues Jenny, he kills Mariana fairly easily, didn't he? I kind of thought we kind of build her
Yeah,
up to be this like mini boss, but he kind of just goes, nah,
he
stab.
he gets her and Vlad at the same time. So when they get to when they get to Jenny, Vlad has what Mariana's mistake was there. She didn't say to Vlad, "Control it permanently." She just said,
Hmm.
"Control it." No,
Control
so
it temporarily.
he
Nope.
stops controlling it for a minute and starts going mad again, which means Ben is just free to run through a door, shoot one of them, and then stab the other. And he's like, dead.
And that's it. And considering we're supposed to believe that um Stirba is like immortal, again, killed fairly easily, right?
Well, that's what we get to. So
Yeah.
Ben has rescued Jenny, and they're trying to escape. Sturba now has her. Gives me vibes of like a life force or something. This one, there's like
Yeah.
a cosmic finality to it. I think we always knew that Stefan was Sturba's brother, right? It's mentioned earlier on.
Yeah, yeah. It was mentioned early on. And obviously there's a does she like go back to being old when she's like communicating with him?
Now, I think she has a flash of being old, but it
Yeah,
transforms
yeah.
to both of them. So she does like, ironically, a vision he would have seen when he wore those glasses at that concert earlier on. She holds out a hand and does like a lighting effect with the light around her hands. She's like using that on him, and you like basically, it's like we can see his keys. Obviously, watch some cultural touch point for some, not for others. Apologies if not. He's doing some Dragon Ball Z. He's using his key. He's like got a field of energy around him.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like power like Christopher Lee, Stefan is powering up. Sturba says, "Oh, brother, you've never been able to resist me. Why don't you come over here and give in to the pleasure of it all?"
Yeah.
And Stefan does go over to. He floats over, but his key is too strong.
Yeah.
He's Kaioken times 40, and he like says, "Oh, um, actually, probably draw the line at incest." And he doesn't say that. He says that he whispered that to her real quick because he goes over they embrace, and she
Yeah.
thinks, but he got
Oh
him
yeah.
sucked in by my like sexy 80s body. But then Stefan kind of leans in, and we can only imagine he says, actually, incest's the line for me. And he shanks her. He uses his. We should have seen it coming, Ben. This is the move
Yeah.
he's been hammering this move all the way through. This is his signature dish.
100%. I think, yeah, and maybe Sturba should have known better in a
He,
way.
she, yeah, she's been paying more attention. Do you think you know your brother well enough?
Yeah.
Um, she's miscalculated how much he's interested in incest and has underestimated his love of shanking.
Yeah.
And he shanks her with a titanium knife. She bursts into flames, and he says, "Oh,
That's it.
actually, per the prophecy, you're going to be absolutely consumed in fire." And even the
Bloody
little
hell.
pepperami pterodactyl sticks its head out from the priest, where it's
Yeah.
made itself a little house by the hermit, like a hermit crab, and he gets burned up as well.
Can't can't you just felt a bit left out, I think. Needed
Yeah.
to be
Do you
burned
wonder if
up.
he's the same pepperami pterodactyl from the end of Hellraiser?
Could be. I mean, pepperoni pterodactyls probably don't get a lot of work in Hollywood, so I reckon if there's a role for it, it's got to be that. Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
Um,
So now after that, after the big win, essentially Ben and Jenny like go back to the United States and they're like living as a couple. A weird sort of thing where they're like having a sort of like a playful answering of the door for trick or treaters. Someone's knocked on the door so to do trick or treat. I'll answer it. I'll get on your back. Oh, I'm not
what
into that.
climbs up him? You got a
Climbs up him,
climbing
yeah.
frame,
But when they
and
open the
it's just
door,
a
it's a
sad
kid.
werewolf boy.
It's a kid in like no one's opening that door and going, "That's a cool mask." You're opening that door and going, "That is a werewolf boy," which is terrifying. They give him some trick or treat. He's really like down in the dumps, isn't he?
He's sad.
Um,
And he has a little
yeah,
howl and then goes along.
yeah, and then they go, "Let's knock on the door and introduce ourselves to the neighbors, say hello to the little boy, and maybe invite somebody for a glass of wine or something." And
And
then
it's
just
just a creepy man. He goes, "No, I ain't got any kids. Love to
is he a
come out for a
priest?
glass of wine though."
Yeah, please do. And they go, "Oh, maybe later," and they go back to their apartment. And what does this final scene mean?
Does it imply that maybe they were the
They've
bad
gone.
ones? That I mean, it implies that there are still werewolves about, but have they massively wiped out the werewolves? It's a
I
bit
don't
like
know.
Ben. Think about it. How sad lots of people in this country were when our
Werewolves were.
previous queen died.
Okay, I see what you mean. It was like a nation of mourning, a mourning period where
Yeah,
everybody's just like
But you can't even enjoy trick or treating anymore.
You can't even
You can
do a
still
trick or
do it. You've
treat
got to
as
be
a
fucking
werewolf
miserable
anymore.
about it
There
because
we go.
the werewolf queen has died.
Yeah.
Don't want to offend any royalists that listen, but I think by a lot of metrics, Stirba, the werewolf queen, the superior monarch.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. She's A, looks great with her top off. Don't mean to be offensive to
Looks
the
right with the
queen.
top on. What a style icon.
Great with her top on
Shades,
and top
armor.
off. Yeah, all good. She's got a pepperoni pterodactyl. Um,
Yeah, I don't know if the Queen of England had any type of pterodactyl.
I mean, she's surrounded by dinosaurs. You know,
Hey, hey.
see what did there. But yeah, that is it. That's the Howling II. Have you got any name game for me? This is a weird one because the title's all over the place.
I've got some for you, Ben. I'll tell you which title I'm going for.
Okay.
Obviously we've done the Howling because we did the Howling one, so ignore the Howling part. First, I've got a couple for you with your sister as a werewolf. Are you
Okay, that's
ready?
it. That's the only ones I've got for your sister as a werewolf, so I'm
Okay,
ready.
um, so the first one is, oh, what's the synopsis of the film? Do you have it for me?
Synopsis is a man discovers that his sister was a werewolf and helps an investigator track down a gang of the monsters in Eastern Europe.
Okay. A man discovers that a person that they owned for some reason that is a specialist in performing quite an extreme sexual act with a closed hand is a werewolf.
Someone they own
Yeah, because
who
it's your. I guess they could just be very closely associated with them,
is
but
it your fister as a werewolf?
your fister is a werewolf, correct?
Jesus Christ! Wow, I think that one crossed my mind, but even I was like, that's too extreme for me. So respect to you for that, Andy. I've got one for you based on
Go
the
on then.
same premise of name. So a man discovers that he's not a sister that's a werewolf, but after wearing a wearing a pair of brand new Dr. Martens that rub terribly on his feet, somehow somehow the piece of skin that seems to balloon inside his foot is a werewolf.
Your blister is a werewolf.
Your blister is a werewolf, which I feel like in the realms of this film could exist. If you got pepperoni,
Pterodactyl.
pterodactyl, a
You could have a
blister
werewolf
being a
blister.
werewolf. Exactly. Yeah, there we
Absolutely.
go.
Filled with ever such nasty fluid. Um, Here's another one where a a German person
Oh god.
who moves to an English speaking country and really adopts, I would say, youth language of the early to mid 2000s to early 2010s, describes someone's sister as absolutely masses of a 12 out of 10. Remembering that he is German and only just learning local youth language.
Jesus Christ. So what is the word werewolf I want to change, right?
Yes.
Your sister is a 12 out of 10, did you say?
Yeah, 12 out of 10, specifically 12.
Your sister is specifically 12. Your
Yeah, it
sister.
depends if you did German at
Ah,
school, I
I didn't
guess.
I didn't do German at school. No, I didn't.
Oh, I might have to help you then, I guess.
Okay, just give me that bit, and was that the only
Um,
bit you changed?
so 12 in German is Zwolf.
Zwolf. Your sister is a Zwolf.
And
Is that it?
so Zwolf is the German bit, obviously, he's saying she's a 12, but he's using kind of youth language for a lot, absolutely. Um, um, for describing this person is absolutely masses of a 12
Oh God.
in kind of early to mid 2000s.
No, you're gonna have to tell me. You're gonna have to
He's
tell me.
saying, I'm not going to do it a voice, it would embarrass me. He says, your sister is Bear's Wolf.
Oh, Bear's Wolf. What, like she's bear something?
Like, as in, that's bear expensive. Yeah, she's
Oh,
Bear's Wolf.
I think bear is still used quite regularly now as like just for having lots of. Yeah.
Oh, my casting shade on people, saying they're out of date when in fact they are much younger than I am.
She's like, you go, she's got bear something. I got bear wolves. Okay.
Us wolves.
One for me. I don't know. I've written this one down. How do I feel about it being an actual thing? God damn it.
Can only get cancelled once, Ben.
This is awful. No, this is just awful. A man discovers that it's not a sister who's a werewolf, but he's doing a bit of plumbing. And realizes that a waterproof receptacle for holding liquids, usually water, and you could say if you played Tomb Raider 1, this is one of the levels, is a werewolf.
Your cistern is a werewolf.
Your cistern is a werewolf, correct. What part of that clue did you help the most with?
Oddly enough, I should know plumbing better. I own a real cistern in a house now, but
okay.
I got it from a Tomb Raider level. Sorry.
It's difficult, yeah.
I've got a couple for you from Stirba now.
Okay, well I've got one more based on.
I've gone. Your sister's a werewolf.
So I'll do one more, because I kind of like this one, and this is so a man discovers that his wife was cheated on him. So he goes on.
Oh, no.
He goes on Jeremy Carl's show, and you know the little title. Jeremy Carl's show's cancelled. Good riddance. But the title, you know, the title used to be on the going across the bottom. So this is his wife cheated on him with a werewolf, and they indulged in a little bit of tonsil hockey beforehand. And this is the shocking headline just along the bottom. They indulge in a bit of tonsil hockey, and she's a werewolf.
I kissed her, and she's a werewolf.
Yeah, that's it. You kissed her, and she's a werewolf. What have you got to say for yourself? It's disgusting. Throws his cards at them, which
throws his cards down. But you can't do a lie detector test if there's been violence, though, which in this film there's an awful lot. So
there we go. That's true.
Here are some of the ones I've got for Stirba Bitch for you. So, a man fights against the queen of the werewolves. Unfortunately, they're arrested en route because the queen of the werewolves has already informed on them based on some crimes that they had committed, meaning they're arrested and thrown immediately in prison.
Is it the Stirba Bitch bit? I'm trying to.
Yes, Stirba Bitch, please.
Stirba Bitch, so not Stirba, because it's Stirba Werewolf.
Oh, it's still Stirba Werewolf. You can say Stirba Werewolf and then it's the Stirba Bitch bit that I'm changing.
They've been grassed up. Sounds like they've been grassed up.
Snitch. Yeah, they've been grassed up. Yeah,
werewolf
Stirba
snitch.
Werewolf snitch. Tells on him. Says, "Oh, actually, they shot to death that news presenter. It's illegal. Sorry, arrested."
When you said that, then I was like, Jill Dando? Oh, you're talking about the film. Sorry.
And the other one I have for you is Christopher Lee, Stefan, and a young couple that he teams up with go to defeat the queen of the werewolves. However, when they get there, unfortunately, she's clipped into the wall and is just her final battle sequence isn't triggering properly. She's just stuck in the architecture of the room.
Is it Werewolf Switch?
It's not Werewolf Switch.
Oh.
She's not operating as intended. So she's clipped into the wall and she's just repeating the same line of NPC dialogue over and over again when they go in.
Werewolf glitch.
A werewolf glitch.
Oh, clipped into the wall. I know what you mean now. For some reason, I was like, is she physically been clipped onto the wall? I know what you mean.
No, she's
werewolf glitch. That'd be scary.
Yeah, werewolf glitch.
There we go. That was fun. So I guess we've got to rate the film. I mean, it's a difficult one, really, isn't it? Because it is utterly ridiculous. And as you've seen the other werewolf, the other Howling sequels, you're probably in a better position to say how you feel about it. So for me, I'll go in first, considering you're probably going to be a little bit kinder to it. For me, I kind of feel like, sure, I understand what's going on, but it's so glaringly different from the original, which I really, really like, that I do get a bit lost. And I don't know, like, I wanted to be more into it than I was, but I just think even Christopher Lee and Werewolf Orgies can't save what is just a really bizarre film, which is like got just a real mix of sort of like tones going on. It feels like sort of a sort of sexy exploitation like film, and also like it's weird. It's like, it also feels like a fantasy film as well in places, like with everyone kind of descending on this castle.
And the
Um,
pterodactyl.
a pterodactyl, yeah. So I'm probably only going to be able to give it a D plus.
D
Oh, is
plus.
that fair? I was going to say C minus, but then I was like, I don't know. Like for
These,
me, anything.
I mean, these get degrees then, but
Maybe also because I watched it so soon after watching it before, it felt a bit like I was a bit frustrated by it because I was like, oh, I don't remember. I kind of don't remember any of this, and I've watched it a second time, and I'm still like, none of it's sticking. You see what I mean? So even though I've
that's
watched it
because
twice in 6 months,
it's because the Giallo elements, Ben. It's meant to be a dreamlike thing.
sorry, I've
Uh,
obviously misunderstood it. I'm not good enough.
yeah, not good enough. You're not watching it properly. Um, I am going to be kind of this one, as you say, for reasons I've seen the whole series, and the next one, Marsupials, has got its weird
Oh yeah, of course. I
things.
preferred marsupials. I think, yeah,
This one, like this series, sticks together more than you think. They do make some really good attempts at having the ones link together.
yeah,
Um, I think this one deserves a critical reappraisal for the reasons I will tell you. One, I think there's some good practical effects in this. I like the werewolf effects.
yeah,
Some of them are cheesy,
yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah.
of their era, they're of their time, but the Giallo like gore, the eye bursts,
Mm.
the gunshot work that they do, the even the pepperami pterodactyl going into that person's mouth.
Yeah, I can't
There
deny
are
it. Like
some
the effects
there's
are
some
good. Yeah.
good practical gore in this. I
Mm.
like that it's insane. Yes, it's clearly an exploitative movie for the things, and we haven't even mentioned the fact that the film ends on an entire music video, which basically is
Oh yeah, of
90%
course.
of the topless shots and
Yeah.
intercut with the band Babel for several parts of the movie, along with some werewolf transformations and some gore effects like an eye popping
It's literally
and
like
things
the
like that as
best. It's
well.
like the best bits of the film,
Yeah,
isn't it? It's trying to go. Here are the best bits. There's all the sex and and the violence and the monsters.
but
They're all.
I kind of love how it revels in its excesses. It's such an eclectic mix, and it has. I think maybe sometimes this is my problem with a lot of modern movies is they're very safe.
Mm, okay.
You want to go for a customized appeal. You want to go not customized, like a general appeal. You want to be
Hmm.
kind of middle of the road in a lot of cases.
Yeah. No,
This
no.
leans into it so hard in just being it at the time that it was. Things like the sunglasses and the fashion choices are just so out there, and the way that people are dressed and the way they even decorate the castle, just full of skeletons and taxidermy wolves and people in leather outfits and loads of belts and staffs and magic and glowing effects and Christopher Lee using his key
Yeah,
energy.
it's
It
just
is
mad.
it is absolutely insane. And I kind of celebrate it for that reason. I find
Mm.
this a fun, bonkers watch. Not to go mad and say something absolutely insane like it's an A-rated movie because
No,
objectively
don't.
it's confusing. The story beats don't necessarily hang together, and
Yeah.
it's nonsense. But it is divinely
And
entertaining,
it's nonsense.
super 80s nonsense. And I like that. So I'm going to give it a C.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'm not too far away from a C by saying D plus. I feel a bit better about that now. It's watchable, it's entertaining, but I just think in terms of how it stands up against the original Howling, like if you're a fan of that film and you've never seen any of the sequels, you're going to be completely baffled by
Oh,
this.
yeah, absolutely as a standalone. But then if you consider it for the whole series, if you say what is it against the original? It's one thing, but if then you view it holistically as a series and say, does this fit into the aesthetic of what the entire series became?
Yeah.
Absolutely. The next one's about marsupials.
Yeah, of course. There we go. And maybe we'll cover that on the podcast one day. Who knows?
We'll get there.
There
But
we
for
go. Then.
now,
That's Howling II.
that's
Werewolf
us for
Bitch,
another week.
Stirba, all that stuff. Yeah. So we're jumping into a new month. From next week onwards, we'll put out the episode rundown once we've officially got everything.
We'll finalize some bits, but there's some exciting stuff coming, right? I mean, we can already say without any titles, there's some new things coming up. We got a new Scream movie next month. You can bet your bottom dollar we'll be covering that.
Bet your bottom dollar.
But we're also doing some. We've got some fairly new films coming. We got some 80s classics. We got some sci-fi horror. We got some slashers. We got some other ideas in the pipeline. We got some exciting guests that we're lining up. March is going to be a good month, Ben. A bonanza.
Returning guests, first-time guests. It's all going to be very exciting. So yeah, sort of just before the end of the month, maybe sort of the first day of the month, we'll share the episode lineup on our social platforms. So yeah, so thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to all of our current patrons, including John Crinnan, Ben Scaife, Stephen Christopher, Laura Kendrick, Toby Miller, Lane Spencer, Ollie Child, Leslie Carlo, Julia Bilgren, Nick Spill, Troy Bursch, Rosalind Harnies, and Pazuzu. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating and review. Head over to Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors. We're all on there. And we're also on all social platforms like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So come and follow us on all those. Just search Horror Hangout Podcast. You'll find us. But for now, thanks, Andy, for being a right horror dude and
Thanks
not a werewolf bitch at all.
Yeah. Hopefully not, but you never know if your earplugs fall out, Ben.
I hope not. I really do hope not.
Do keep your earplugs in, everybody. For now, thanks to you being a right horror dude. Thanks to all of you right horror dudes out there. Tell you what, we are rattling through guests, movies. We got a load of ideas, but we'd always welcome yours. You got a guest that you want us to? You got a guest that you want us to approach? You've got a film that you'd like us to cover? People get things in. Contact us in all those ways. Tell us what you want to hear.
There's always a film that we've missed. So if there's something that we haven't covered in our 270 plus episodes now, which there definitely is, just give us a shout and we'll add it to the episode list for the rest of the year and get around to it eventually.
We'll complete it one day, everybody. For now, though,
one day we will.
Goodbye. Enjoy your excellent 80s shades, everybody.
See you next time.
Bye.